you found your way to Wonderland.
Put their hands!
Really, I didn't think that.
But that's the point. If you don't think, you shouldn't talk.
Down the rabbit hole with idiots.
Hey, what is going on, everybody?
What up?
Hello.
Looks like my output's a little bit hot. Let me turn that down a little bit. So who all's here today?
Missy.
Who else?
Tom's here.
Tom's here. And who else?
Fat Steph in the house.
Steph's in the house. All right, now whose phone's playing
Steph.
back audio? Steph's got headphones on. He doesn't know what's going on. All right.
There we go.
It's not me this week.
So
This time it was me.
yeah, so this time I decided that we would just go back live into the Club Hub, and I don't know why we're doing this. I think it's more Steph and Tom wanted to go live in the Club Hub, but anyways, we're live in the Club Hub. Maybe we'll get to some of the herp alert outbreak stuff later that's going on, but and then we also have coming up in the show here shortly, real quick. We're gonna, because he's in the East Coast, we have what's his name, Tom?
Mike.
Mike's calling in. He is Charles Manson's best friend, right, Tom? I mean, pretty much
So.
I mean, he's on the guy's prison medical records, as far as he's the one that gets the notification when something's going on with Manson and stuff like that. So he's really close to Charles Manson. He's been friends for probably the last decade or so, or if not longer.
At least, yeah.
At least. Yeah, so we're going to have him on the phone, and we're going to talk to him because for those of you that don't know, Charles Manson, in the last week or so, he got transferred into the hospital. Looks like he's on his, he looks like he's pretty much on his deathbed. From what I understand is they tried to do some gastrointestinal surgery on him, and they didn't think that he'd be able to make it through it, so they didn't do it and sent him back to the prison. That's what I heard. I don't know. So
They didn't do the surgery.
yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, I'm guessing Mike, once we get him on the line, he's gonna know what's going on. Chris Cleary's claiming no video, but I'm watching it online right now. So, Chris, refresh your browser. It looks like Joe's back in town too.
I'm just a little bit curious. So in this day and age, you can go to prison and get a gender reclassification.
Yes. I saw that.
But you can't get a surgery that might keep you alive?
Well, the reason is the reason why the reason why they didn't do the surgery is because they didn't think he could make it through the surgery.
Oh.
Because he's what? He's 82?
Yeah, he's
he's
up
82.
there.
So he's
up
just going
there.
to be like on pain meds or something probably, right?
Yeah.
To like...
But if you got an intestinal problem that they can't repair and it's dumping all those toxins into your body,
I can't imagine that you'd last long.
You're not going to last.
They'll say like, well, my grandma had some issue like that recently, and I think that they were like, she has to have like a better diet. Like
A better diet?
Like, eat certain foods.
I don't think he has much of a choice.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The diet is pretty much forced.
Yeah, I think
I'm just saying.
Mystery meat or ramen noodles.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, take your pick.
So
I'll
this,
take ramen
I mean,
noodles
this
all
is
day.
pretty interesting. I mean, Mike has he's been asked to be interviewed by Dateline before, allegedly, from what I know, and he's turned it down. He's never wanted to do interviews. He did do an interview last weekend. That was the first time in I don't know how many years, and that was with a podcast that was dedicated to Manson, Charles Manson.
Yeah, his big issue is when you get on like Dateline and a lot of the primetime networks, a lot more of those they demonize him, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And Mike tries to stay away from that because he is very much against what the media says.
Right. Well, because Mike firmly believes, he doesn't believe the hype surrounding the case. He believes that the prosecution demonized Manson and made up all this kind of stuff, and he believes Manson's not guilty. So, which, I mean, I don't know much about Manson. I've kind of taken a crash course this last week. So,
Well, I mean, I
don't know.
And I probably know as much as everybody, anybody else that's watched any kind of documentary or read any books, but you're getting the demonizing side of it. You're not getting the other perspective.
It might be an age thing, really and truly, because I mean, if you think about like, what's the average age of our listeners? Would you say?
Well, the average age of our listeners are 30 to 40-year-old males.
Okay, on the 40-year-old side, I think everybody pretty
As far
much
as
remembers
I'm not
who
too
he is,
sure
but-
about when we stream live in the Club Hub or on Facebook. I don't have the demographics on that, but I do have the demographics on SoundCloud and YouTube, and we're definitely predominantly male audience. Even though our Instagram for not Radio Underland but for the White Rabbits is like 75% female, ages 20 to 30. So
I mean, I learned about it in school. like because a part of that era, because of the Vietnam War and
Age thing.
Yeah, because they taught about the 60s and the 70s in history class, I think in like 8th and 9th grade. So
Well, I remember, shit happening on TV and then, him coming on and doing his, random interviews and that sort of thing, and the swastika on his forehead and, shit that I didn't understand when I was a kid.
But as far as when I was younger, I didn't really get into it really till I got into college, because I took criminal justice, and then you start watching all those documentaries about all those different types of people, in terms of like sociology, and you try to understand their, what their thought process was.
It's kind of hard, actually.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Completely opposite of what the average was going on at the moment. Back then it was like big love and, let's go to San Francisco and pick up 5 chicks on the way there and let's smoke pot until everybody
It was basically like
passes
Plenty
out.
of Disney.
Yes, it was.
And
exactly
Disneyland
like that.
Drive singles.
I
Yeah,
wonder if
pretty
it
much the
was
same
this-
thing.
Was the herpes going on back then too?
I mean, and Mike talks to him probably 2 or 3 times a day. So, and I've heard him talk, I've heard him on speaker because Mike records all the conversations. So I've heard some of the
Right.
conversations, and he's still, when you hear him talk, it's like he's stuck in the 60s.
Well, yeah, he's in a room by himself in
Yeah.
prison for 23 and a half hours a day. But yeah, like I was saying, like, you're living in a concrete cell for 23 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I can see how that would happen.
Very much talks in riddles. Still to this day, he talks around things. But that's just the way his brain works, I think.
Yeah, and one thing that I was doing is, as we were getting ready for the show, and I knew we were going to be talking to Michael, Charles Manson's best friend, and I was watching a lot of Manson interviews, just raw, uncut interviews, and the guy, when you say talking in riddles, when I was picking up on the guy, he's definitely very, very eccentric, and he also, he does speak in riddles, and like I said, if you chop those up and you edited those and you just listen to him as parts of it, he sounds batshit crazy. He really does. But if you listen to it in his entirety, he kind of goes off on these tangents and comes around, and he fucking makes sense if you understand it. It's really like listening to Todd Von D. It really is. It's like, wait. If you just clip out a section of his comments, you're like, Todd Von D's batshit crazy. But then if you listen to it in his entirety, break out your decoder ring, you're like, oh, okay. This
So
guy
if the
makes
two
sense.
of them had a conversation, they would understand each other perfectly?
Oh yeah,
would
it'd be
be
like
awesome.
it'd be like dueling riddlers. Yeah, definitely. So, anyways, other than that, so we've got that coming up real quick. We've got Mike, like I said, Charles Manson's best friend. We're gonna get him on the line here in a second, which should be interesting. We'll figure. Hey, we got Charles Manson's best friend on the show. I mean, Dateline couldn't get him, but we got him.
We got him.
I'm fine with that.
Could be very interesting.
Does he have a super thick Boston accent too?
Yes.
I mean, how many people from California are calling him right now? Hey, Michael, it's Jake from Radio Underland. How are you doing?
What's up, brother?
What's up? I'm sitting here with your brother-in-law, Tom.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, can you hear Tom there?
What's up, Hampton?
Hey.
Don't put that on the radio. I don't want the world to know we're related.
Okay, well, I'll edit that out. Plus, nobody listens to the show anyways, so you're fine. Yeah, I heard you.
I'm actually honored.
Yeah, that's cool. So I guess a lot of people have been hitting you up here in the last few days, right?
Yeah, it's been actually nonstop.
Yeah, and you've been, from what I heard from Rachel, is that you've been one to not really do any interviews. So what's kind of made you change to where you started doing them here in the last couple days or last week?
Well, I guess to kind of nip the fucking rumors in the bud, but mainly the ones that I agree to are, I wouldn't say they're Manson supporters. I guess they're people out for the truth.
Right.
Like the last interview I did, he makes it loud and clear he's not a Manson supporter. He's a truth supporter. And I guess if I can help put the truth out there, it's kind of, to me, it's no difference.
Yeah.
Because the truth actually supports Manson, because like a guy I spoke with for 2 hours tonight, some guy at TMZ, and it was off the record, but he told me, man, I'm so glad we talked because my whole outlook on Manson is completely different. And I figured, hell, if I can change one fucking attitude, I guess it makes it worth it to me,
Yeah. So
Because here's the deal: Charlie's
Sure.
not getting any younger, and he's not healthy right now. He's actually very sick, and I don't know how much time we have left with him.
right.
And I'm sure once he goes, the media is going to explode, but then it's going to die down, and I may not have the chance to tell my side or
Right.
the real who he really is. So I got to do it sometime.
Right, and that's what I think that you're probably one of the people that is closest to Manson, that is, able to speak out, that has Manson's point of view and of everything that happened and everything that's going on. I mean, Mike, how long have you known Charles Manson?
Since 2000.
Since
Long
2000. And so how did you come to meet him? Did you just send him a letter and he happened to respond? I mean, how did that relationship start?
Well, like anyone else, I just started writing him, but at first he never wrote back.
Right.
So, and I'll be honest, when I first wrote him, I wanted an autograph. That was it.
Right.
I didn't expect to develop a relationship with him or nothing. And when he wasn't writing me back, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'll act like I'm a follower. I'll pretend like I'll feed into the whole helter-skelter bullshit.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, he wrote me back like, "Man, you fucking scare me." Don't believe that shit. That's not me.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute, man."
So
what the fuck?
Right. Yeah. So how often how often do you contact Manson? I know he's sick in the hospital right now and he's out of contact right now, but how often did you contact? He's back in the prison right now, right?
Oh yeah, he's back. But I mean, it depends on Manson. You can't call him; he calls you. But man, he's very unpredictable. He can call you 3 times a night for a week, and then he won't call you for 3 months.
Right.
But he's kept in touch with me. I'd say, fuck, man, jeez, religiously. I hear from him at least once a week.
At least once a
Sometimes
week.
more, sometimes less.
So how would you define your relationship with Manson? Would you consider him a close friend, a kind of a prison pen pal? I mean, how do you kind of define your relationship with Manson? I mean, do you consider him a close friend?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know this until tonight. The guy that contacted me says, look, I'm not going to reveal my sources. He said, but I've spoke to several people that know him closely. Mm-hmm. And I asked them the closest person to him, and they all point to you.
Right.
And I said, really? And they said, yeah, I mean, he described you as like a son to him. And that was so flattering to hear. I never knew that. But, I guess it's because, I don't know, like I treat him like I would treat you.
Right.
I talk to him like I would talk to you. And I love him. And I think he can sense that. He sees that I'm not in it for publicity, money. I shun that shit,
Uh-huh.
And he respects that. And he's even told me, after all these years, you haven't sold out.
Right.
You have my permission if you want to. And I know he's tricking me, and I tell him no, because I don't want to.
Right. So, I mean, so you're...
People think you're brainwashed. When you show support for him, they think you're a brainwashed follower. And it's sickening.
So if you had to describe Charles Manson, from based on your relationship and actually getting to know him, because there's people out there that don't really know Charles Manson, and the only grasp they have of the guy is through the media perceptions, through the court cases, and everything that the media has pumped. But you actually knowing the guy, how would you describe Charles Manson?
It would be hard. But if I had to pick one word, honorable.
Honorable.
He's probably the most honorable human being I've ever met in my life. You got to understand something. Manson was raised up in the prison. Manson was raised by gangsters, the likes of Creepy Carpus, Frankie Carbo, Frankie Costello. These are all... Frank Costello was Lucky Luciano's right-hand man. These are gangsters. Charlie's from old school... You don't snitch. Your word is your bond. You don't tell on your friends. You keep your mouth shut. And that's what's kept him in prison 47 years. But one thing that I will say about him is his word is everything to him.
Right.
And that's a dying trait in today's world.
Yeah.
He's the last of a dying breed, and I'm telling you, the man that you see as Manson is not who I see. I mean, he's probably one of the most compassionate people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a story
Compassionate.
Yeah, I heard a story that, he sent your kid a birthday gift and stuff like that, which is, something difficult to do from prison. But, he sent him over, some dough to have a good birthday or Christmas or something like that. But, he actually cares about you, too. So, but the thing is, the reality is 99% of the people out there roaming America and the world, for that matter, the only thing they know about Manson is what they've actually been told through the media, which he's been made to be this almost well, I mean, he's definitely been painted as a villain. He's definitely been painted as almost a supernatural villain. I mean, even when you go back to the early court cases where they wouldn't let him testify in front of the jury because they were afraid that he would somehow brainwash or hypnotize the jury. I mean, from day one, he has been made out to be, from what you're saying, something totally different than what he actually is. Is Manson in any way? Is he religious in any way? And if he is religious, how would you describe his kind of religious beliefs?
I wouldn't say he's religious. He does believe in God, in Jesus. He has a massive amount of respect for holy men, preachers, priests. He actually almost idolizes soldiers. He loves anyone that served in the military. He's got a massive amount of respect for our veterans. But
So he does. So he doesn't have a super religious outlook, but he does respect the people of the cloth or people in the Christianity religious. And if you had to narrow him down to religious belief, it'd be more so towards Christianity than anything else, right?
Yeah, I would say so. But there's this thing with him, and I can't describe it. But my girlfriend can bear witness to this, and I know this is going to sound fucking crazy. But, I don't believe in supernatural. Rachel will tell you, I don't believe in ghosts and mediums and psychics, and I don't fucking buy that shit. I'll tell you a quick story.
Rachel does that.
Listen, there's something going on with Manson. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you want to call him a shaman or some kind of supernatural powers or anything, but I'm going to give you an example. One time, my son, had a drug problem, and he overdosed, and I told the guy that sold him the drugs, if you sell my son drugs again, I'm going to kill you. Well, long story short, it happened, and I was on the highway, and I was going to kill this guy, and I was in my truck with my girlfriend. No way, Manson, 3,000 miles away in Corcoran, California. My phone rings, and I look down, and it's Charlie, and I go to hit ignore, and I accidentally answered it. And I'm driving, and I hear, hello, and I'm like, fuck. And I didn't have the heart to hang up. So I'm like, hello. Now, mind you, I'm an emotional mess. And he says, what are you doing? I said, no, what are you up to? Turn around. So I'm thinking he means turn around, look behind you. So I'm like, I can't turn around, Charlie. He's like, no, son, pull over. I'm like, huh? He's like, whatever you got going on in your mind, get rid of it. You're better than me. Don't turn out like me. You got other kids to think about. Bro, I became so emotional. I pulled the truck over. My girlfriend sitting next to me. Thank God she was there to witness this, because no one in the world would have believed it. I just couldn't believe what he was saying. How he knew is beyond me, and that's not the first time something like that's happened with him. One time he sent me a newspaper article, just the article, just the things, big words, Rosebud escapes death. I'm like, what the hell is this? The day after, my daughter, her name's Chelsea Rose, I call her Rosebud, was just dropped off at school when her mother was T-boned by a fire truck. If she had been sitting in that car, she would have been dead.
Wow.
Because it T-boned. So, I know it sounds nuts, man, but I talked to a friend of mine, Nicholas Schreck, who's known Manson since the early 80s, and I told him about these instances, and he said, oh, so you've experienced it too. I'm like, what is it? He's like, we call it me, the unexplained.
Right.
If you hear Charlie talk about my me, it's these. So what I'm getting at, I got his property one time, and inside it was a handwritten note from Charlie, almost like a diary, where he was talking about leaving his body and experiencing things and seeing things. And I kind of attribute that. How else the fuck would he have known what I was doing in Boston, Massachusetts, on a highway with my girlfriend in a truck, ready to go kill someone?
Right.
For selling my son. Like, how would he know how would he know that Rosebud escapes death? How would he know? He didn't even know I called my daughter Rosebud. I still have that article. My girlfriend and I sat there staring at it with our mouths open.
So it's almost like he's having premonitions.
Premonitions are like some
well,
psychic ability or something like that.
It's bizarre. And I asked him, Charlie, can I talk to you, please? What possessed you to send me that article? And he laughs. And I said, Charlie, please tell me. Please. I need to know. And he said, it's my me, son. My me.
Just that's
said,
reference to just supernatural,
Just tell me. Tell me. What is it? And he just laughs. And he says, because I felt like I had to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like weird shit, man. I'm telling you, weird shit. So I remember one time I asked him, explain this to me. And he said, you ever know when two people, let me tell you a story, son. When I first put eyes on Bugliosi, he walked into the courtroom and I looked at him and I knew right at that moment that this man was about to change my life. And when two people meet each other for the first time and they are either to make history or they are to change each other's lives forever, something supernatural, something amazing and miraculous can happen. So what happened was Bugliosi looked at his little watch on his wrist and he looked up at the clock on the wall and I smiled. I said, wait a minute, is that the time? Whoa. So that really happened with the scene in the movie where he looked at the clock and you stopped the clock? He's like, nah, I didn't stop the fucking clock, son, but it stopped. I said, whoa, but how did you know that his watch stopped? He said, I didn't, but it happened. And I thought, oh, God damn, that's fucking eerie shit, man.
Yeah, man. So for the people, yeah, because, there's a whole generation of people. I mean, there's people, 35 and younger that, they just know Manson as some type of a villain, but they really don't know anything about him. It was just something that was before their time. And so Bugliosi, who you referenced to right there, for those of you that don't know, that was the prosecuting attorney in the case against Manson. So, and believe me, Mike, I wouldn't consider myself a Manson expert by any means, but I have kind of taken, I've heard about his health lately, and I thought, I was talking to Rachel and Tom and was, talking about you possibly coming on the show. So I kind of went in there and I started looking at some interviews with Manson, uncut interviews and stuff like that. And, but my opinion is kind of unformed. I'm just kind of asking you questions because I think you're one of the people that's closest to Manson. And you're going to be the closest as actually getting Manson's actual responses. But for you, did you and Manson ever talk about his court cases and everything that went on in the past back in the 60s?
Oh, my God. Countless times. Oh, my God. He shared a lot with me, and it's important for him. And I respect the hell out of him for this, but he'll tell me something and say, do you believe me? And I say, of course I believe you, Charlie. Give me your word. I give you my word. All right. As long as you believe me. Like, it matters to him that I believe him.
Right.
And I'll tell you another thing, too, about Manson that just blows me away. If he thinks you're upset with him, he won't go to fucking sleep that night until he talks to you. Like, he does not want you mad at him. And to me, it's just like, God, that's, like, so odd. You're Mr. Evil. But yet he cares so much whether or not you're mad at him. It just doesn't fucking jive with me,
Right.
The most dangerous evil man in the world doesn't want you mad at him. It's almost like an oxymoron.
Right.
But yeah, man, and he's just got a heart of gold. I mean, he'll give you the shirt off his back if he knows you want it.
Yeah. Well,
but I tell you what, man, he's also got, he can drop at the drop of a hat. He can snap, get real fucking mad real quick.
Yeah,
That simple.
and that's one thing that I noticed from watching him in some of his uncut interviews. That maybe his biggest downfall for him personally, and the way the prosecution went at him so hard. But I did notice to me he seemed like a very eccentric person. You know what I mean? He talked in a poetic, kind of almost sometimes a real type of way.
An act.
But
That's an act.
I did see that his temper, like if somebody got underneath his skin or asked him something he didn't like, that his kind of like an inner temper would just get away from a little bit. And I know plenty of people like that. But I was wondering if that was possibly one of his downfalls of, just kind of his I guess you could say almost like kind of a short temper. You know what I mean? Which that doesn't make you evil, just means you have a short temper.
Here's another thing, too. Right. Here's another thing. Charlie's got a third-grade education. He's dyslexic. He can't read, barely read. He can barely write. If you look at a letter of his, it looks like a third grader wrote it. Yeah. But, he's, how can I put it? He's just a big child in a grown man's body. He really is. If you give him a newspaper, he'll throw it away and read the funnies.
Right.
It's
right.
just, he still loves comic books. He loves telling jokes, and I can't tell you how many times he's called me and been like, okay, I got another number here. We're going to prank this person. Like, okay, I'm prank calling people with fucking Charles Manson,
Yeah, well, hey, that's what memories are made of, I guess.
But, yeah, but that's just goes to show you, there's to me anyway, there's a more human side, but he's his own worst enemy, man. The minute the cameras go on, he puts on that Manson mask.
Yeah.
He becomes, it's the character, bro. That's the only way I can put it, because, he loves to get a rise out of people, and he'll throw that Manson mask on at the drop of a hat just to get a rise out of you. But he's not intelligent enough to know you were your own worst enemy, man. But if you look at the beginning stages of the trial, you see a short-haired, clean-shaven, meek, mild-mannered, soft-spoken, almost shy country boy. Yes, sir, and no, sir. And as the trial progressed, he turned into Charles Manson, the mass murdering monster. Right. And I asked him about that one time, like, why didn't you just tell the truth, Charlie? And he told me, because they wouldn't let me put on a defense. They wouldn't let me. They wanted the fucking hippie cult leader, mass murderer, boogeyman, and I gave them that because I knew I was going to lose that. I was being convicted and tried in the media. It turned into a media circus, and it's true.
Yeah, I know enough to know that even President Nixon claimed him guilty before they even selected a jury on his trial. And
not just that, man. Here's another one. Before that, one of the jurors got caught stealing the Sharon Tate autopsy photos and sold it to a European tabloid newspaper. Was caught. That should have been grounds for a mistrial.
So
trial was allowed to go on.
So let's rewind just a little bit. In your description, what was the name of the ranch there where he had kind of the hippie commune that he had going? What was the name of that ranch?
Spawn Ranch.
Spawn Ranch.
There was Spawn and Baca.
Okay, so his life prior to all this nonsense at Spawn Ranch, in your best description, because like I said, you're the closest to actually, talking to Charles Manson, what was life like there at the Spawn Ranch? How did Charlie describe that to you?
He told me in the beginning it was fucking heaven. It was, everyone was sucking and fucking and peace and love and harmony and song and dance and music and all this fucking happy. And then all of a sudden when the speed came in, that's why Charlie he just forbade anyone to be around heavy drug use. Like Tex Watson brought what we call now, it's called methamphetamines. Well, back in those days it was called speed.
Right.
And when Tex started to bring the speed to the ranch and people started getting hooked on that shit, that's when it all started to get dark and turn ugly. But see, people don't understand. Tex was robbing drug dealers. That was his MO.
Yeah.
That's what Tex did. The kind of people that don't report the shit to the police.
So in your opinion, Manson, he wasn't into the methamphetamines or anything like that. He was just kind of a pot-smoking
And he
hippie.
very rarely, that's it. And every once in a blue moon would pop acid. That's it.
Right, but he wasn't doing anything that would really, acid will definitely alter your mind, but usually not in an aggressive kind of a way, but definitely the speed, the methamphetamine, can definitely cause people to do some crazy things, think they have 10 times their strength, all kinds of stuff. But you're saying that Charlie really didn't partake of any of the methamphetamines, and he encouraged people not to.
No, never.
But at the same time, they were still doing it and getting a little crazy. And he said that's when life
They were
had spun
sneaking
around.
behind his back and doing it. Yep, and it got real dark and ugly.
Right.
And, a lot of people don't know this either, but you got to understand, these were all young 17, 18-year-old college students. Manson was in his 30s.
Yeah,
so
they were
of course
pretty much
they all
kids,
looked
yeah.
up to him. They looked up to him. Not only was he a very talented musician and who could swoon the ladies with the guitar, then they, him being the oldest, they looked up to him.
Right.
And Charlie loves attention, man. Even today, he loved attention, and I think he loved it a little too much.
Right.
And I think with all the heavy drug use, people weren't thinking straight.
Yeah,
They
well, it
weren't-
was the 60s. It was 1968 or 69, right?
Oh yeah. I remember one time I said to him, how do you explain them all having the same scenario of this race war, helter-skelter shit? And he told me, he's like, look, man, if I tell you to go fuck yourself and you're off in the corner of a room sticking a log up your ass, is that my fucking fault? I didn't mean to literally go fuck yourself. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, yeah, you got a point there. He's like, I can't be held responsible for some young punk that wants to take my words literally.
Right.
I said, oh, shit.
Yeah, like
Never thought of that.
Okay, so I mean, your response is, I mean, your opinion is that this whole persona about him was something that was almost developed in the courtroom by the prosecuting attorneys to just paint a picture of a villain, basically in an attempt at all costs just to win in court and get a conviction.
Oh, absolutely.
Mike, has he ever
Absolutely.
has he ever talked about the issue with the guy from the Brian Wilson? Is it Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys? Has he ever talked about that?
Dennis Wilson.
Dennis Wilson.
Dennis Wilson, I don't even know who that is.
All the time. All the time. He really, and I'm going to be honest, man, and I know he's going to get pissed off if he ever gets back to him I said this, but he's admitted to me that he loved Dennis Wilson, like in love with Dennis Wilson.
And Mike,
Him and Dennis were close.
And Mike, and the reason why I ask these questions for clarification is because you're talking the people that listen to my show. They're of a younger generation, and they don't know a lot of these people. So, who was Dennis Wilson to Charles Manson?
All right, Dennis Wilson was the drummer to the Beach Boys, and he picked up a couple of the girls hitchhiking. And they were telling Dennis about this musician friend of theirs that was a genius, musical genius. And he wanted to meet this genius. And they introduced him to Manson. And Dennis and Manson clicked. And actually, Dennis let them move in his Beverly Hills mansion. They lived there.
Oh, okay.
Charlie's recorded music with the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys actually recorded 2 of his songs.
Oh, okay. All right. So for people that don't know, the first murders that were associated with the Manson family was the Gary Hinman murder, right? Was that the first one, Mike? And that was wasn't he like a Los Angeles drug dealer musician? And that was back in I think July of 1969.
/ school teacher.
Yeah. So I don't know anything other than Gary Hinman was the first person killed in association with the Manson family. But with your conversations with Manson, what happened in that first instance with Gary Hinman?
What happened was Hinman had sold Bobby Beausoleil 1,000 hits of mescaline.
Okay.
Well, in return, Beausoleil turned around and sold that mescaline to, which was in those days called the Straight Satans. They were a motorcycle gang. Well, one of the Straight Satans' girlfriends who was pregnant took some and miscarried.
Oh,
So they
wow.
were coming after Beausoleil fucking full force. Like, look, motherfucker, you not only killed my kid, but you fucking sold me a batch of bad mescaline. We want our money back.
Okay.
So Beausoleil confronted Hinman and said, hey, man, I need my money back. Hinman said, you ain't getting your fucking money back until I get my nuts going back.
Right.
Well, long story short, Bobby and a couple of the girls went to Hinman's house, and tried to get their money back.
Right. And so in that instance, you're saying it was a drug deal gone bad. And
Oh, it was a drug deal gone bad, and he wasn't coming up with the money. So the girls told Bobby, call Charlie, because they knew that, hey, look, maybe Charlie can get through to him.
right.
So they called Charlie up and said, hey, he's not kicking in the money, man. And Charlie says, what the fuck you want me to do, man?
Right.
And he said, come over here and help me. Talk to him. He might listen to you, Charlie. So Charlie did. He went over there and told him, look, man, let's end this bullshit and give him his fucking money.
Right.
And
Right.
Hinman told him, I don't have it, Charlie. And he spit at Charlie, and it pissed Charlie off because he spit on his cheek, like, poof. So Charlie cut him right in the ear with a fucking big old sword.
Uh-huh.
This part, I don't know why I'm laughing, but Charlie said that when I hit him with that damn sword, his fucking ear fell off, and I thought, oh, fuck. So I told her, hey, give me a Band-Aid. And they tried to put a Band-Aid on it, and it wouldn't stay up. So he told one of the girls, said, man, give me some dental floss, and we'll sew this motherfucker back on. I said, wait a minute. You were trying to sew his ear back on? He said, well, I didn't do it. I told her to do it. I said, well, no, but listen to me for a minute, Charlie. That's proof that you didn't want him dead.
Right.
If you wanted him dead, you wouldn't have tried to save his ear. He said, no, man, I didn't give a fuck about his ear, man. It was once he told me he wasn't going to tell my parole officer, then I cared. I said, wait a minute. So he threatened to tell your parole officer? He said, yep. And I said, so what changed? He said, he gave me his word. I said, he gave you his word what? That he wouldn't snitch. I said, so you took his word for it? He said, well, yeah, man. Your word's your bond, right? And I thought, fuck, man, that's fucking proof right there. But when Manson left the house that night, Henry was very much alive.
Okay.
So, I mean, how could they nail him with that murder? I mean, God, if you think about it, they nailed him with murders. He wasn't even at the scene of the crimes.
Right, and which is one thing that I've when I've read into this whole situation, it just seems odd to me that they're charging a guy for murder when he wasn't there. So, okay, regarding the Gary Hinman, that incident, because you're saying that Charlie left that night, and then obviously he turns up dead on July 31st. Well, so did he die later that same night?
I think it was the next day he was killed.
The next day. And
yeah, after Manson left.
So
here's one fascinating thing I guarantee you didn't know. Vincent Bugliosi was not the original prosecutor of that case. There was a guy named Stovitz. He is the original prosecutor to the Manson trial. Stovitz offered Manson 18 months diminished capacity to turn state's evidence and testify against the girls and Tex Watson. Manson turned it down. He turned that down.
He wasn't going to turn in his own people. He wasn't going to snitch.
He was not going to fucking snitch on his own people. Well, Stovitz was kicked off of that trial for, if I remember correctly, it was he violated a court order of, what do they call them? He violated a judge's order to not talk to the media. I forget what that's called, a gag order or something. And they brought Vincent Bugliosi in, and of course that's when all the helter-skelter bullshit came to play. But a lot of people don't realize Vince Bugliosi was a ghostwriter for the show Dragnet, which was a huge show back in those days.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it goes to show Bugliosi always had this Hollywood wannabe storytelling writer. It doesn't surprise me he came up with this wild helter-skelter fucking story. It's
right.
What he did. Just Manson wasn't smart enough to read between the lines and say, hey, man, that's not the truth. This is what's going on. But if you look at the court transcript, Manson did not put on 1 second of a defense. His fucking his two lawyers, the defense rests, Your Honor, right, without speaking a word in the guy's defense.
Well,
they wouldn't let him call one single witness. Can you believe that Vincent Bugliosi convinced the judge? Now, tell me this would happen in today's court. Vincent Bugliosi convinced Judge Keene to not let Manson testify before the jury because he had the power to brainwash.
Yeah, I know.
And if you let him testify, Your Honor, he may brainwash well, isn't that every defendant's fucking goal is to convince the jury he's innocent?
Right. Yeah, that was
It
some
was a
far out
witch
stuff.
hunt,
That
brother.
was that's some far out stuff that was associated with this case. I mean, I don't think there's ever been another case
Yeah.
where they wouldn't let the defendant testify in front of the jury because they're afraid that he was going to brainwash the jury. That is pretty outrageous. So
A buddy of mine graduated law school and told me that there's a course in the law school that uses the Manson trial as a what not to do and how not to prosecute a case.
Well, I've seen other attorneys write about this case, and they said if he had proper representation today, he probably would have never been convicted at all because just the
Never.
evidence was just not there. I mean, regarding the first murder of Gary Hinman, which Manson was convicted of Gary Hinman, correct? Amongst
Yes.
the others, yeah. What was
Hinman, Shorty Shea,
but what
9 murders.
But what was the actual evidence that they based on that conviction for the murder of Gary Hinman?
The testimony of one woman,
The testimony
Linda
of one
Kasabian.
woman. And she
Linda
was
Kasabian. And Linda Kasabian was the mastermind of the Tate murders. It was her idea to go there that night.
so she was one of the girls that was hanging out at Spawn Ranch, right?
Yes, and she was also one of the girls that had blood on her hands, was at the scene of both murders.
Okay. All right.
She was given full immunity, $30,000 in cash, given her daughter back because they put her daughter in foster care, a new name, relocated. Of course she's going to. You just gave her 5 good reasons to fucking lie.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the Tate homicides. I mean, because that was I believe the Gary Hinman happened somewhere around July 31st, and then the Tate homicides happened around August 9th. So we're talking almost 10 days later or 9 days later. At the Tate homicides, 3 victims were shot or stabbed multiple times on the grounds of the estate. It was Abigail Folger, I believe, Stephen Parent, and Wojtek Fikowski or something like that.
Fikowski, Jay Sebring.
Yeah, and Sharon Polanski, the wife of Roman Polanski, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened? What happened at the Tate homicides, and how was Manson tied to that?
What happened? The truth or the whole helter skelter shit?
No, I'm asking you because I want to know your opinion from your conversations with Charles of what happened at the Tate house.
Well, I've never shared this with anybody, but because you're Rachel's friend and my sisters speak highly of you, I'll tell you what he told me. What happened was Beausoleil told Charlie, "Get me out of this fucking mess, Charlie. If I go down, we're all going down." Charlie, being at the Hinman house that night, panicked.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie turned to Tex Watson and said, "Look, you owe me," because Charlie had shot Lotsa Papa, which is Bernard Crow, the black guy. That was all because of Tex Watson. So he told Tex, "Get him out of fucking jail." And he's like, "How?" He's like, "I don't know how. Don't ask me how. That's not for me to decide. You figure it out." Well, when they went to the house that night, it was a... So you got to understand, Jay Sebring, back in those days, they say he was the hairdresser to the stars. Yes, he was. But he was also one of the biggest drug dealers in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
He
yeah.
was he dealt in a massive amount of drugs. That's why if you read the police report, when they searched Jay Sebring's car, what was found in the trunk? Well over $50,000 worth of drugs. Back in those days, $50,000
was a lot of
fucking
drugs.
money.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of goddamn drugs. Well, why do you think those drugs were in the trunk of that car? Because they were supposed to be there for a deal. Tex robbed drug dealers. That's what he did. That's was Tex's MO back in those days.
Right.
And what happened was when they see a lot of people don't understand. Yes, there was a guy named Will Garrettson that was left alive, the caretaker, the young kid.
Right.
In the guest house. Well, the reason why he was alive and not murdered that night was because he was in on it, man. He was part of it. When they were to rob the house that night, to rob the drug dealers, Sharon Tate wasn't even supposed to be home. She was supposed to be with Roman. But see, Stephen Parent, Will Garrettson didn't know that her car had been put in for repairs that day. So when he looked out the window and told, she's not here, Patricia Krenwinkel called him and says, "Hey, man, who's over there?" And he looked out and says, "Her car's not here." That's when they set it up. That's when it was a drug deal that was supposed to go down. Tex was going to tie them up and rob them. But Tex didn't expect Jay Sebring to be a black belt and whatever. And from what I understand, Abigail Folger was the first to jump up and pant. Abigail jumped up and ran out screaming. When she did that, at the same time, Tate got up and ran for the back room. That's when Sebring stood up and started beating the fuck out of Tex, because Tex went after Sharon Tate. When because Sebring used to date Sharon Tate, he was still in love with her. So of course, what's he going to do? He's going to jump up to protect her, and he did. And he almost beat the fuck out of Tex, but Tex shot him. Bang! That was the gunshot they heard. So all hell broke loose, and it just got out of hand. And that's why it's very well documented. When they got back to the ranch and told Charlie what happened, and she turned around and she said, she being Susan Atkins, said, "We did it for you, Charlie." And he said, quote, unquote, "No, cunt. What you just did was send me back to prison for the rest of my life."
Right.
That's
right.
documented. Now, if Manson ordered those murders, why would that have been his reaction?
Right.
Why would he have been so upset? But it was a drug deal gone bad. Now, here's what a lot of people don't know. When Charlie turned to Tex and says, "Listen, did you wipe the place down?" And Tex told him no, because it happened so fast. It was so messy. It was so. It wasn't what was planned. So Charlie put some of them back in the car, got in the car with them, and went back to the scene of the crime. And that's when all the writing on the wall, the glasses were planted in the driveway. Charlie helped cover it up.
So I mean,
what they did was they tried to make it look like the Hinman murder. They tried to make it like Beausoleil. They got the wrong guy, because the killers are obviously still out here. There's writing on the wall.
right.
You know, that's why all that was there.
So I mean,
But it was a series of things.
Yeah. So in your opinion, Charles Manson, I mean, his guilt there, the only thing he was guilty of was going back to the scene of the crime and trying to.
It's conspiracy or accessory to murder after the fact.
But doesn't it seem like, okay, to me, just listening to you tell this, I mean, you telling me, of these stories of drug deals gone bad, and it all makes sense to me. I mean, that seems to me more probable than somebody telling me that some guy talked to a bunch of people, turned them into zombies, and they just went on a killing spree for them. That doesn't make sense
Exactly.
to me. But drug deals gone bad, and people getting, I mean, this shit makes sense.
Well, let's look at what we know, okay? Months before the murders, Tex robbed a guy and a girl, tied them up, stabbed the man, cut the girl, and robbed them of their drugs. Do you know who that girl was? That was Jay Sebring's secretary and her boyfriend.
Yeah,
Now,
so it's all
see
people.
the connection here?
Yeah, it's all people that were all tied up in the same drug ring, using the same dealers.
Exactly.
It's all people associated.
Rosemary
with drugs.
LaBianca was a huge drug dealer. Rosemary.
Uh-huh.
They look at her, some innocent housewife. No, she was a drug dealer.
So that was 2 days later, and that's the LaBianca murders, and that's where
That was a day later.
That was a day later, and that was in the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, and they also were found stabbed to death with dozens of wounds, that kind of stuff. But so what is the truth behind the LaBianca murders? How did that transpire? Is it just still part of this whole drug dealing web? I mean, it kind of sounds to me like it is. But what happened at the LaBianca murders?
Here's what I was told. Because the Tate house was a flop, they didn't get a red cent. The drugs were not found. They went back looking for them that night. Of course, they never thought to look in Sebring's trunk. So they knew they had to get money to get to the out of Spawn and to Barker. They had the money to get Bobby a good attorney. They needed money. Money is the driving force behind it all.
Right.
Well, let's look at the facts here. So what do they do next? They go to the next drug dealer that they know of. Not only that, Susan, what's her last name? Rosemary's stepdaughter, who's actually Tex Watson's biggest supporter today, was dating a straight Satan back in those days. Mm-hmm. There was a connection to Tex Watson. Now, it's known that Rosemary had a house coat on when she was murdered.
Uh-huh.
She was wearing a house coat that she left that night. What I was told was that Tex took her by force to the grocery store and had her empty the safe.
Okay. All right.
It was all drug money driven. It was all for money and drugs.
Which makes sense. I mean,
no race war.
You've got a group of people. They're in debt to a biker gang. They themselves are hopped up on methamphetamines. So they're not thinking that rationally. They've got money that they owe to a bunch of bikers, and they're kind of scrambling to get everybody paid off before they get killed, and they're not thinking rationally. I mean, that sounds...
And to get Bobby out.
Yeah, and to get Bobby out.
So you got... They were desperate, man. It turned ugly.
And then they made, with the LaBianca murders, they made the scene look the same way as the Tate murders and the first
Exactly, because they wanted the police to say... They wanted the cops to go, hey, wait a second, man, we got the wrong fucking guy.
Yeah, because these these same murders are going on, as you've got Bobby or whatever locked up, the same murders are still happening out on the street, so it can't be the guy that you have in custody. I get it. I get the rationale.
And not just that, but you got to understand the mindset here. Manson shooting Bernard Crowe panicked because he thought Bernard Crowe was a Black Panther. So not only were they trying to free Bobby, raise money, but they were trying to pin these murders on the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Charlie thought the Panthers were coming, because when Bernard Crowe called the ranch and said, hey, man, let me talk to Charlie. Well, they made a big mistake by putting Charlie Manson on the phone and not Charlie Watson. So when Manson got on the phone, Crowe told him, look, motherfucker, you bring my drugs back to me, or I'm going to come up there and kill every one of you white motherfuckers. And Manson said, whoa, who the fuck are you looking for? And he said, don't worry about who I'm looking for, motherfucker. You better be looking over your shoulder. And that's when Manson hung up and went to Tex and said, look, what the fuck did you do? And Tex told him, I robbed him, $5,000 worth of weed. And Manson told him, you go fix this shit. And Tex told him no. Manson said, look, if I have to do it, motherfucker, you're going to get the fuck out of here. And Tex wouldn't do it. Now, if Manson was this cult leader that had all this power over them, why would Watson tell him no? I'm not going to go do it. You do it.
No, that's
what Manson did.
A good point. Yeah. Oh, so the LaBianca murders. Now, how did they tie Manson into the LaBianca murders? I mean, what was their evidence to convict Manson on the LaBianca murders?
Well, Manson knowingly, foolishly going with him. Manson was the one to walk in, tie up Reno,
okay, so he
turn
was
around
there,
and left.
Okay, he was there at the initial encounter, and you're saying he went in there and had something to do with kind of a attempted almost kidnapping whenever you're tying somebody up. But you're saying that he left. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, did they come in a couple cars? I mean, why would he show up and then just leave?
He left. I have no idea.
Okay, but that's what
one subject. I asked him, and this was his answer to me. I said, Charlie, why did you go in that house that night? And he said, look, son, you got to remember, man, back in those days, we used to party at that house.
Yeah.
I said, I know. He said, well, I thought that house was empty. I said, you thought it was empty, but when you walked in and saw Reno sitting on the couch, why didn't you just turn out and walk away?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the dog was too cute, man. That little dog, I had to pet the dog, man. I said, you pet the dog? He said, yeah, man, that dog wouldn't stop humping my leg, man. So I picked him up, and I told the man, I said, look, man, don't get nervous, man. I'm just passing through. I said, you told him you were just passing through? He said, yeah, man. So I said, so why did you tie him up? He said, because I wanted to make sure he didn't call the cops when I left, man. So I figured if I tied him up, I'd have time to get the fuck out of there, which makes sense. Now, I'm not saying it's true, but, hey, he said, then I turned around and Tex come through the door. And I said, uh-oh. I knew about this because Tex was a serial killer. See, people didn't understand that, man. Tex was a killer. Tex will kill you. So I just walked the fuck out, got in the car, and left. And that is documented. That's proven. Manson did get in the car and leave.
Okay.
And the way the media has painted Tex Watson is they've painted him as like Charles Manson's like #1 soldier.
Exactly, and that's so far from the truth.
It painted him like Manson says jump and he says how high. Manson says kill this guy.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, when Charlie told Tex go fix this Bernard Crowe thing, Tex told him fuck you, I'm not doing it. So there's your right-hand man. And I asked Charlie one time, I said, if you could go back and change one thing, what would it have been? He said, I would have fucking thrown Tex out a long time ago.
Because he blames
And that
Tex
tells
for
me a
getting
lot.
into all that trouble. Yeah.
It is. He said it from the day from if Tex Watson had stayed gone, because Charlie threw him out. Tex was gone, and then he came back and begged Charlie, please, give me another chance. And Charlie told him, no, the fuck out of here. And Tex told him, I'll give you the title to my truck. And Charlie said, my life cost me a fucking 1947 fucking Dodge. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, I let him come back for that stupid truck. Truck didn't even run.
So the last murder associated with the Manson that I'm aware of, and maybe I'm wrong because, like I said, I'm not an expert, but Donald Shea, he was murdered, and he was a former stuntman, and he was a hired hand at the Spawn Ranch, correct?
Yep.
Now, so
Here's what happened with that.
Sure.
Do you remember when the Spawn Ranch raid? Those infamous pictures of the police raiding the ranch.
Yeah.
Not realizing these were they blamed Donald Shorty Shea for that. They thought that Shorty had ratted them out to the cops because they were there for a bunch of stolen cars. Well, someone had came back and told Bruce Davis that Shorty Shea was not only ratting them out to the cops, but telling old man Spawn that these kids were dealing drugs out of the ranch. And so they thought that George Spawn was going to throw them out. So Bruce Davis and Clem said, we got to get rid of this motherfucker.
Right.
And that's how that happened. But, they also said that he was dismembered, his head was cut off. That was all bullshit. When they found his remains, it was confirmed that he was not dismembered, his head wasn't severed. It was just all lies.
Right.
To boast that image of mass murdering, crazy hippie cult leader ordering his minions to dismember people, and that's not true.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean,
even now, if you approach Manson with this, like he's a leader, or he'll shut you right out. He hates that image, despises it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, wow. All right. So that's the scoop from your perspective, which is pretty much close to the Manson perspective. So, I mean, a lot of people say that Manson received an unfair trial, and you have the Nixon statements, you have Manson's inability to represent himself, even though the psychological test before trial said that he was above average intelligence and capable of representing himself. Yeah, and like I said earlier, there's many attorneys that believe with proper representation, Manson's case should have never even went to trial because there was just insufficient evidence.
And I guess that's why at the time it was the longest, most expensive trial in history.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. So that's odd. So right now, we touched on it a little bit up front, but you said Manson, he's out of the hospital. But he was in there with some intestinal thing. But did they actually do surgery on him, or did they not do surgery on him?
They did a minor procedure, but what happened was it was blood in his stool. That's it.
Oh, all right.
And also they wouldn't tell me what, but life-saving medication alteration that had to have been made.
Okay.
But he sounded fantastic. He sounded so good when I talked to him. I mean, he sounded
so you've talked to him
better than he has in a long time.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm not a Manson expert, but you kind of gave me a crash course on kind of the different murders and everything that's been going on back in from Manson's perspective, and it's interesting. I mean, one of the things that I've heard is that you at some time you've contacted Manson and you've kind of wanted to do something to help him get out, but he's just not. He wants nothing to do with ever getting out of prison.
We had it all the way to the federal court.
Yeah.
I got it on Google one time and got a hold of the best defense attorney, and they come back, Jerry Spence. I contacted him and pled my case and begged him for help. Of course, he declined.
Yeah.
I relentlessly, he says, look, man, I admire your tenacity. I'll tell you what, I'll come out of retirement. You get this case before a federal judge. Of course, I was ecstatic. I hung up the phone. I called Nicholas Schreck. Nick and I started doing all the necessary paperwork. 2.5 years later, all we needed was Manson's signature to get it on an appeal in front of a federal judge. Manson wouldn't sign the paper.
He just wouldn't do it, huh? And what's his excuse?
I was furious.
What did he say? What was his excuse?
I said to him, how would you let me waste 2.5 years of my life, Charlie? I was so upset. He kept calling and calling, but I wouldn't take his call. Finally, I took his call, and he just poured his heart out. He said, look, man, I know you're upset with me, and I just didn't think you would do it, man. You know how many people over the years told me that they were going to help me and get me? Look, man, your world scares me.
Right.
I can't live. Look, man, where am I going to go? I told him, you can come live here, Charlie. Come stay with me. I got an empty bedroom. And then what? What do I do all day while you're at work? Huh? Then your house turns into a media circus? Man, I can't put your family through that. And then I got to worry about looking over my shoulder every day. Who's going to be the man to step out behind the shadows and kill Manson? Trying to some punk make a name for himself. Man, that ain't no way to live. Look, son, I'm where I belong. This is my home. And, man, my heart went out to him, and I realized I was being selfish. Yeah, I wanted him out, but I didn't consider what he wanted and why he wanted it. And when he explained to me, I understood. I actually felt bad for being upset with him, because I've received his mail. When he got locked up in the hole, he's got to send out his property. Well, he sent it out to me one time, and there were 3 huge boxes of, I'm telling you, man, there had to have been thousands of letters, because he's a hoarder. He saves everything.
Yeah.
From people from every walk of life. And you get a real insight into his life by reading his mail, and it's just, oh, my God, some of the freakiest, I'm going to kill you. You think you're the devil. You don't know the devil until you meet me. I'm going to cut your head off and fuck your skull. Like crazy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, his life's threatened every day. Every day.
Well, and you figure at this point
they have him in a protective housing unit.
Yeah,
I guess it makes sense that he feels safe there.
Well, yeah, and you figure he's been there the better part of almost 50 years now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his way of life.
But listen. He's in prison, but he's in his own prison within a prison. It's called PHU, the Protective Housing Unit.
Okay.
And whenever Manson is transported, when me and my girlfriend went to visit him one time, when they transport Manson, the entire prison shuts down. Every prisoner has to be in his cell when Manson steps out of his cell. That's how protected he is.
Wow.
The entire prison shuts down.
And is it because
other inmates hate it?
Is it because they're afraid that somebody's going to go after him for the notoriety?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been attempted. His life's been, he's had so many attempts on his life. That's why they created the PHU unit just for Manson. Insert him.
Interesting.
Oh,
Hey,
crazy.
one question back, Mike. I heard a clip somewhere, and I can't place it, and I should have made a note of it. But somebody was referencing to the fact that back in the whole Roman Polanski thing at the Polanski residence, it was something to the effect of that Manson wasn't aware at that time of the weird shit that Roman Polanski was into regarding pedophilia and stuff like that. Did he ever mention
Child pornography?
Yeah, child pornography. Did Manson ever talk about that with you at all regarding Roman Polanski?
Yeah. Yep. All of them. Mama Cass, Phillips, all of them were doing it.
Oh, really?
It was huge in Hollywood back then.
Well, I think it's still,
let's look at
got
the
a
big
hold
picture
today.
here.
Right? Yeah.
Not long after Sharon Tate's murder, what was Roman Polanski arrested for?
Well,
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. Right?
Yeah. So
When he went out of the country.
Yeah, he went out of the country.
yeah, that's when
for
Polanski
30
went out of the
years.
country for like 30 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So how did Manson know though? I mean, just I guess the same circle of friends,
Word of mouth.
friend of friends. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't know this. Manson was writing songs for a group called Buffalo Springfield.
Oh, yeah.
Which was Neil Young. Well, anyway, Charlie was real close with Neil Young. Matter of fact, Neil Young is the one that gave Manson the name The Wizard. And the reason being is because Manson, when he writes music, doesn't put pen to paper. It's in his head.
Okay.
I think I know of one other artist that does that, is Jay-Z. But anyway, so Manson, it's not because he doesn't want to. He doesn't know how to fucking write, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, so anyway, if you look at Neil Young's autobiography, he talks about Manson being a musical genius. So that shuns the whole helter-skelter, disgruntled rock star wannabe theory right out the window.
Yeah.
Before the Bernard Crow shooting, Manson was set to have a documentary filmed on him, funded by the same management company that did the Beach Boys.
Right.
So that's a whole disgruntled rock star out the window. But if you pay close attention, then Michael Caine, the actor, in his recent released autobiography, he wrote, and it's in writing, that he was at a Mama Cass party, was introduced to Sharon Tate, and at the same party later that night was introduced to Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Which blows that whole fucking helter-skelter, Manson being a disgruntled rock star wannabe because Hollywood shunned him. He wasn't being shunned.
Because
they were inviting him to their parties.
Because that was the original story on the Tate murders, is that he wasn't actually going there for Tate. He was going there thinking he was going after Brian Wilson, or Dennis Wilson.
And Terry Melcher, you mean? And here's the biggest thing with that. They said that, but Manson's attorneys failed to mention, wait a second, didn't you also just testify that Sharon Tate was in the swimming pool weeks prior to the murder, and Manson came up and asked for Terry Melcher, and they said, he didn't live here no more, get the fuck out of here. And they chased Manson off. That was according to the testimony of Sharon Tate's bodyguard, or whoever that guy was. Well, doesn't that disprove your theory of him thinking that Terry Melcher lived there?
Yeah, because he already knew that he didn't. Right.
He already knew he didn't. And Charlie tells me to this day, of course we knew Melcher didn't live there no more. I didn't even know they were going there. You know whose idea it was to go to the Tate house that night? Linda Kasabian and Tex Watson. You know why? 'Cause Tex Watson used to live in that guest house. When he first arrived to California, he had Will Garrison's job. He was the groundskeeper for Rudy Altobelli, who owns that house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get what you're saying. And it's like I kind of like coming into this with a raw perspective and just being able to hear it firsthand from you, from Charles Manson's perspective of what happened on those nights. It's definitely very interesting. So you say that Charlie's doing better. They did a minor surgery. It wasn't the main surgery that he needed, but he sounds good. He's still healthy. So you think he's still going to be around for? How old is he now, Mike? He's 80 something?
Well,
right?
I'll tell you what. He's 80. He's 82. He was born on Veterans Day of 1934. Charlie has been dying for about 11 years now.
Right.
And, yeah, and for some reason, I swear to you, every time you doubt him, he pulls through. That's why this time going through, I said, I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah.
Because I was hoping he did. Because every time I say that, he comes home.
So I got another question for you, and you have to educate me because and I think this is kind of one of the obvious things, and it's kind of like a Charlie's anger issue, which we were talking about earlier, and it's another kind of thing that gives him away that might hurt his defense as far as him personally. And some of the kids that are listening to the show right now, they're asking, well, why does Charles Manson have a swastika on his forehead? Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah, that you got to understand. Charlie, when he did that, was right around his Vacaville days. If you look at Manson history, he was humongously involved with Native American art, Native American this, Native American that, because he had a friend that was a Native American Indian in Vacaville.
Uh-huh.
This Native American told him a story of a guy one time that calls himself Walks on Top, like you would spell the word W-A-L-K-S on top, Walks on Top.
Uh-huh.
Well, Walks on Top is also an ancient Indian symbol that is a backwards swastika.
Uh-huh.
So if you look at Charlie's forehead, a lot of people don't know this. If you look at earlier pictures of Manson, the swastika is reversed because it's not the German swastika, it's the Indian Walks on Top.
Now, see,
so
you're saying
over time, it's changed.
Yeah. So to Charlie,
Yeah,
that
because
represented
it's dated
what?
and he had it redone. It's an Indian symbol of peace. Walks on top.
Walks up
And
top.
Charlie
Kind
put it on
of
his
like
foot.
above
Yep.
it all, right? Above all the nonsense. Walks on
Above it
top.
all.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And that's why it's there. Because, and another thing too is I also, and he's not going to admit it, Charlie likes to get a rise out of people. You know, like when the cameras turn on, so does the Manson persona. We call it the Manson mask because he can turn it on and turn it off like a light switch. He can become that person. And I think that confusion of the walks on top to the swastika, he had to have known what he was doing when he did it. Charlie is the least prejudiced man I know. And I'm not just saying that. Matter of fact, I have never heard Manson use the N-word.
Right.
I'm not going to say
and
it on
that's
the radio
something.
show.
Yeah, and that's something. Oh, believe we say all kinds of bad stuff out here. But
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of respect for African Americans, and anyone that knows him. Well, here's another thing: Manson. In the years I've known him, I've never once heard him badmouth another person. That's just not who he is.
yeah, and that's something.
He finds the good in everything.
You know, and the media portrayed this whole helter-skelter race war stuff going on, all this other kind of stuff. And that's something with as many hours as you've talked to this man. I mean, you if somebody's prejudiced, deep down, racist, whatever, they cannot hide that amongst hours and hours of casual conversation. Something would definitely come out.
It always
if he was
out.
fueled by even if it's just the the nudge. Hey, you hear the joke about the whatever. It's gonna come out. You can't hide it for that long. So,
and not just that, but when he was first put in prison, they purposely put him in cells with other African Americans just to have him beat and raped and whatever.
Yeah, I bet that was I bet that was some rough
There
stuff.
was torture on him, man.
Right. Well, anyways, Mike.
Some of his closest friends are African American.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, is there anything that, I'm not saying we don't have a huge audience. We're not Dateline NBC. We're nothing like that. We're just some guys that sit around and do this for fun. We have our little bullshit radio show that we do. And it's basically for our group of friends, and we just do this. But is there anything that you would like the public to know specifically about Manson? Is there anything specific, like any type of a message or anything that you feel like you need to get out there on the behalf of Manson or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd like to end with this. Manson has this deep-rooted love for the environment. And I find it fascinating that here's a man that cares so much about our world, the same world that condemns him, the same world that has judged him, that has betrayed him, that has raped him, beat him, stole his life, and continues to persecute him. But yet he continues to care about our air, our trees, our water, our animals, which he calls ATWA, which is an acronym for air, trees, water, and animals. And that's he's very, very passionate about that. And I just think that it's so telling of his character to love something that hates him so much. And you got to really look and say, how can such an evil man care so deeply about something so meaningful to each and every one of us? It's you got to ask yourself. It makes no sense. Wouldn't he want to destroy that? God, I think I would if I was in his shoes. I think I would be so, I don't know, bitter towards everyone, the world.
Right.
You demonize me. You ruin me. You take my life, and what do I do in return? I love you.
Yeah. So
I love you back.
So I mean, kind of to sum it up, the way that you've described Manson to me, and this is just what I kind of take from it, is that he was just kind of a free spirit hippie, little eccentric, doing some weird, just whatever hippie stuff. But everybody was doing weird stuff back in 68, 69. He got caught.
Yeah, one thing he wasn't was a hippie, though. He doesn't like that word.
Oh, he doesn't like that word.
He calls himself a slippy.
A flippy?
He slips right by that hippie persona, yeah.
A slippy.
So you got to understand, Manson was born in 34.
Yeah, he was older than those hippies, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was in his 30s, man. He was brought up with Hank Williams and
he was a different generation.
You know, Roy Rogers, different generation. That's why these people think that he was obsessed with the Beatles. He fucking hated the Beatles.
Ah, okay.
He didn't even like the Beach Boys. You know, but yeah, man, he wasn't into that hippie scene. That's why Manson back in the ranch, if you look at any pictures of Manson, which are very few, but he had short hair and clean shaven. He didn't grow a beard until he went into prison.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't grow his hair out until he was in prison.
Okay. All right. So he was there. He had his ranch, or he was at the ranch with a bunch of other kids, kind of stray runaways that they kind of took in. They were young, 17, 18, 19. They're all just living there, having a good time. They're having a good time.
That was all new to Charlie. That whole free love and hippie life, Charlie was on for the ride, man. He just got out of prison.
Yeah, so everybody be along for the ride.
When he went into prison, yeah, man, he was telling me, man, we were just loving and fucking and sucking. It was beautiful, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was none of that jealousy shit, man.
And then
you just...
Yeah, so there they are, you know, this free love thing going on that was new to Charlie. He was older. They start looking up to him as the leader of this group, you know, and Charlie's, in your opinion, and from what you've said, you know, he seems like a decent guy, a little eccentric, a little, you know, quirky here and there, but he's a soft, mellow guy. He was very involved as far as protesting about the environment and stuff even before all this. And
yeah, man, he brought attention to that, boy, before it was even an issue. But you got to understand, man, Charlie was a throwaway child, which was called a beatnik back in his day.
Yeah, okay.
You know, he spent 2 years in a boys' home because no one claimed him.
Right.
And he told me about sitting at that window every day for 2 years, and every time a car would pull up, his heart would start beating, thinking, oh, I'm going home today. And no one came. So he was a throwaway child that was never loved and all of a sudden now he's being worshipped.
Right.
He fucking ate it up, man. Like, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
All of a sudden now you're getting all this attention. He ran with it. It cost him his fucking life, though.
Yeah, it did. Now, okay, so this is the one question, okay? So going based on what you've said and how you've described Manson, it's one way. But obviously the prosecution just deemed him and made him out to be something completely different. What was the motive for them to do that? Was it just because you had a prosecuting attorney?
Oh, my God.
Is it just because you had a prosecuting attorney that would do anything to win, and he would just build whatever case he could just to make sure that he won this court case? You think that's the only reason?
Not just won the court case. Explain this to me. This is very well documented. Vince Bugliosi had a ghostwriter in the courtroom from day one.
Uh-huh.
Day one, which means he planned on writing the fucking book. He knew he had a good story that he was going to sell. It was going to be the biggest horror story in the annals of fucking American crime, as he put it.
Which it pretty much is.
And he ran with it.
Yeah, which it pretty much is.
It's still, to this day, the #1 best-selling true crime book of all time. But you know what? A lot of people don't know that Vincent Bugliosi was brought up on perjury charges a year after the Manson conviction. Perjury.
Perjury for doing
because
what?
He perjured himself for talking to the media, releasing information when he wasn't supposed to. He threatened every single body to either testify or we're going to fucking lock you up and put you in the gas chamber.
Right.
It's all documented. All well documented. See, here's the thing. Bugliosi overlooked a lot of fucking evidence. He covered up a lot of evidence. He knew, but he was too far into the helter-skelter theory to change. We can't go into the courtroom and say, oh, wait a minute, Your Honor, we have evidence to prove otherwise. It's too late.
Yeah.
And he fought hard to hide that.
Right.
And he did a good job. And Manson even tells me to this day, man, I don't hate the guy. He did his job, man. He did what he was trained to do, and he did it well. And I think, God damn, here's a guy that lied about you, that took away your Sixth Amendment right, who painted you out to be this. He fucking put you in the gas chamber, and you're telling me he's not a bad guy?
Right.
What the fuck?
Right.
Now, is Manson still on death row?
No, it's just life.
No,
it's just life, right?
Yeah, it was when they overturned the death sentence. All of them, their lives were they went from death row to life with parole, with the possibility of parole.
So he does have a possibility of parole, but he doesn't want it anyways, and that's a whole different.
That's why, if you notice, when Manson goes before the parole board, it turns into a circus.
Because he doesn't want to leave. Yeah,
he doesn't want to leave.
I got you. All right, well, I'll tell you what, Mike, thanks for coming on and kind of breaking some of this stuff down for me. Anybody else have any questions? Steph, you have any questions over there?
No, actually, this is one of the most informative, interviews that I've heard in a long time. Because I mean, I grew up listening to Manson and watching the interviews and reading the stuff in the news about what was going on, and to hear it, from quote unquote the horse's mouth, somebody who's so close to him.
But Steph, I'm sitting here. I don't know if you can hear him, Mike, but there's another guy that's sitting here with me. But
Yeah,
Steph,
I can hear him.
In your opinion, I mean, doesn't almost like the drug deals turn bad and all this other kind of stuff? Doesn't that almost make more sense than just some crazy guy that brainwashed somebody to go out and kill people?
Way more
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Well, not just that. I asked him. I said, Charlie, let me ask you a question, man. I said, why didn't you just tell the truth? Why did you start acting crazy like that? And he's like, listen, soldier, I was given my right to defend myself. And I thought to myself, finally, I get to tell my side of the story. So they take me out of my cell and bring me to the prison library. And I said, hey, man, can I get a pencil and some paper? And the guy turned to me and laughed and said, motherfucker, you ain't getting no pencil and paper. And I said, well, how the fuck can I take notes, motherfucker? And he said, don't worry, Charlie, you ain't going home. I knew right then and there I was convicted, son. And then when the president of the United States turned around and said I was guilty, it was done. So I gave the world what they wanted. I knew I was convicted. Nothing I did was going to free me. So I said, you want the boogeyman? I'll give you the boogeyman. You want the hippie cult leader? I'll give you the hippie cult. And if you notice, man, there was a time that Manson went from this meek, mild-mannered, soft-spoken country boy to this fucking pencil-wielding, attack-the-judge crazy lunatic. I mean, it happened overnight.
So he was
basically-
giving
You
him
got
a
to ask
show.
yourself.
He was giving him a show.
Yeah,
That's
so
what they wanted.
he basically-
He was giving them a show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I've seen other people that's happened to too. I mean, people that when they get pushed in a corner and they think that they have no way out, they just kind of they'll put on a crazy show for you. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of almost.
And I also asked him, what about the girls? The girls sitting outside the courtroom. Why were they acting nuts, like carving X's in their forehead, Charlie, like crawling? He's like, listen, man, to you it might have been that, but to me they were in protest. We were Xing ourselves out of the society that wouldn't give me my fucking rights.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give me my rights, man.
And let me.
And I thought, wait a minute. That's true, man. If you look back and you listen to what those girls are saying, give him his rights. He's got a right.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe they went about it the wrong way, but hey, it wasn't about freeing their fucking leader. It was about freeing their friend.
Yeah, and let me break that down for some of the listeners, because the swastika or the reverse swastika came later in Charlie's life on the forehead, but it all started with an X. And that X originally came from Charlie protesting, and this is documented records where he did not have access to the library. The courts would not let him testify on his own behalf to a jury. All this other kind of stuff was going on where Manson was not getting his rights. And so he did carve an X in his forehead, and it was in protest of the system and how come and the way that he wasn't getting treated fairly. So he carved X in his head, and then a lot of his friends or followers, depends on which side of the fence you're on, but a lot of his friends, they did the same thing. They carved an X in their forehead, and it was in protest of the system and him not getting a fair trial. And you have to admit, when you're in the situation that Manson was in, and the president of the United States comes out and says that you're guilty before jury selection ever happens, I mean, come on, man. You're kind of getting a raw deal from the get-go.
And the president, by the way, that happens to be at the time, Nixon, what was his profession? He was an attorney, so he fucking knew better.
Right, yeah, he knew exactly
what he was doing.
So basically,
But there's something that's in a law book that if you got a quick minute, can I just read something? This is out of a law book.
We got
Of all the multi-tedious it goes of all the multi-tedious violations of Charles Manson's rights, which have occurred since his arrest in 1969, none is so substantial as the denial of his constitutional Sixth Amendment right to defend himself at his trials. From the very beginning, Manson has always voiced his desire to represent himself. On December 17, 1969, Manson made a formal request to do so in the courtroom of Judge William Keene. Your Honor, Manson said, there is no way I can give up my voice in this matter. If I cannot speak, then our whole thing is done here. If I cannot speak in my own defense and converse freely in this courtroom, then it ties my hands behind my back. And if I have no voice, then there is no sense in having a defense. Lawyers play with people, and I am a person with a life, and I don't want to be played with in this matter. The news media has already executed and buried me, Your Honor. If anyone is hypnotized, the people are being hypnotized by the media, by the lies being fed to them. There is no attorney in this world who can represent me as a person. Please, Your Honor, allow me to do it myself. Manson was examined by Joseph Ball, a former president of the California State Bar Association. Ball's assessment of Manson, presented in court on Christmas Eve of 1969, was as follows. And he is a young, able, intelligent man, quiet-spoken and mild-mannered. We went over different problems of law, and I found he had a ready understanding, remarkable understanding, as a matter of fact. He has a very fine brain. I complimented him on the fact. I think I told you that he had a very high IQ for someone with such a low education. Must have to be able to converse as he did with me. And he feels that if he goes to trial...
Go ahead.
And he feels if he goes to trial, he will be able to permit jurors and the court to hear him and to hear his side of the story and see him for who he is. They will realize he is not the kind of man who would perpetrate such horrible crimes. Judge Keene relented. It is in this court's opinion a sad and tragic mistake you are making by taking this course of action, but I cannot talk you out of it. It is within your right to act as your own attorney, and I grant you such right. This situation existed until March 6, 1970, at which time Judge Keene, upset over some supposedly outlandish and nonsensical motion filed by Manson, vacated his status as his own attorney without explanation. Why the outlandish and nonsensical motions were not simply overruled was never explained. Whatever the real reason, King's actions violated Manson's constitutional right to defend himself. Any defense presented after that ruling, which in fact there was none, was and still remains invalid and is in direct opposition to the Sixth Amendment right of self-representation. This issue was brought up in Manson's appeal. In that appeal, the California justices denied Manson's request for a new trial, claiming that a federal ruling which affirmed the Sixth Amendment right did not apply to Manson because the decision came after his conviction and was not to be given retroactive. This interpretation of the law was later overruled in a separate case in Bittaker versus Amato, in which a United States federal appeals judge ruled, although California's defendant's trial occurred prior to the United States Supreme Court's Feretta decision, confirming to state defendants the constitutional right to self-representation, denial of the California defendant's right of self-representation was a federal constitutional defect requiring set aside of this conviction. These men were freed. Manson is mentioned specifically in footnote 2 of this decision. The right to self-representation is as fundamental and undeniable as any other constitutional right. It is every citizen's constitutional right to defend themselves. That is why Colin Ferguson, a seemingly deranged Long Island Railroad gunman, was allowed to defend himself at his trial. It doesn't matter if a defendant's defense may be unconventional. Self-representation is a constitutional right. The denial of Charles Manson's right to represent himself during his trial is a fatal flaw in the legitimacy of these trials. Manson's convictions and his present incarcerations are illegal. Over the years, Manson...
Well, you still there? I kind of lost your phone. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Over the years, Manson has filed several habeas corpus petitions with the Los Angeles County Superior Court protesting his imprisonment based on the claim that he was denied the right to defend himself. All of these petitions have been dismissed at the superior level with no explanation other than the petitioner, Manson, had failed to establish the claims made in the petitions warranted the granting of the writ. This is a standard rubber stamp denial. None of the legal arguments advanced in any of these writs has ever been addressed. It has never been to be explained, but to be expected. The California court system knows that what it has done to Charles Manson and is afraid of the consequences it faces if Manson is giving his rights. Manson will never get any relief on this question from the California court system. Only if his appeals are in a writ to the California legal system on the federal level will he ever get a fair hearing. Then he may get a new trial. No
So-
convicted person in the United States is more entitled to a new trial than Charles Manson. That's what gave us the idea of bringing it before the federal court.
And that and,
I got it, Dad.
and that thing that what were you
I got
reading?
it, Dad.
Yeah, what were you reading out of right there? Uh-oh. Something's going on there. So anyways, everything that you're reading there, that was written by whom? Uh-oh. Did we lose you, Mike?
Yeah, I got you.
So that whole excerpt that you were reading right there, that was from what? What was the publication?
It's from some law book.
A book
a friend of
about-
mine forwarded it to me.
Yeah, and see, the thing is...
And it's sad that Manson is mentioned specifically in footnote
Right.
2 of this.
Right. Now, you have a personal relationship with Manson. Obviously, I don't. But to me, the question is not, to me personally, being an American citizen, to me it's not about was Charles Manson this mystical, magical power guy, or was he not? Because to me that's irrelevant. I think the thing that appeals to me most about the case of Charles Manson is how unfair it was and how the justice system didn't work properly for a man that was accused. And so, I mean, just the problems with the trial in general is something that really bothers me about this whole case. Like I said, just the mere premise that they wouldn't let him testify in front of a jury because they're afraid that he would brainwash the jury. I mean, what kind of horse shit is that? I mean, this isn't.
Yeah, I mean, whether you like the guy or not, whether you like the way he acts, walks, or talks, everyone deserves their right in a court of law.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, I'll tell you.
Everyone.
I'll tell you what. Tom, you got anything else?
I was just going to say, basically, what it came down to in the end is he knew he wasn't going to get a fair trial, so he just embraced the character.
Yeah, he just put on a show for them, it sounds like, because that's what people wanted to see.
Which I've had people do myself. I mean, having people work for you and you get them cornered and they just get under so much pressure and they just kind of flip out and just go, okay, well, I'm crazy then. Well, whatever. So, anyways,
Crazy, I'll show
And
you
it's not
crazy.
out of character for him, man. Like I said earlier, he'd give you the shirt off. He's just a giving kind of guy. And I'm not saying that, okay, well, let me give them what they want. But it just doesn't surprise me that he took that attitude.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
just
mean,
who he is.
sometimes when you're helpless, when you feel helpless, you just kind of, it's almost like I'm not saying it's a mental breakdown, but in a way it almost is. It's like you just feel so helpless. It's like, okay, this is who you want me to be. This is what you're projecting on me. Well, then this is who I'm going to be. I'll give you exactly what you want. It almost seems like somebody that's trying to make people happy, like they weren't happy unless he was the crazy, psychotic person. And that's who they want him to be, and so he became that person just to make everybody happy.
Now, does he, Mike?
Right.
Does he have any communication with any of the other people, like Tex or any of those people? Is he even allowed to have any kind of communication with them?
No, he does talk to some of the girls that used to live at the ranch, but the main perpetrators, no. Because
Yeah.
a lot of them still blame him. Like, they're playing that we were brainwashed role, hoping they can get paroled.
Of course. I mean,
You know?
they're just going with the system, and I mean, if I was them, I would play that same role too. It's like, hey, America believed that Manson was this crazy whatever, and I was just this robot that was mind washed. So I'm going to play the same card, and maybe I can get out of here. I mean, I totally get it. I'd do the same
Right,
thing if I was
exactly.
locked up. So, anyways, Mike, well, it was good talking to you. It was very interesting. It was a very interesting conversation about Charles. So, hey, you going to move out to California? Get out of the cold?
I was thinking about it.
Yeah, it's nice out here.
I was
I'm telling
thinking
you.
about it.
All right.
All right, brother.
Well, it's good
I'll
to talk to you,
man.
Mike. Yeah, maybe we'll talk to you some other time. You have a good day. All right,
Bye, Mike.
bye-bye.
Anytime, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.
Later. All right, peeps. So
there
that
you
was...
go. We got the interview Dateline couldn't get.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of that, I mean, and I'm listening to it, and I just want to let him go and talk about stuff, because a lot of the stuff he's talking about, if you're not up to date with the Manson case or you haven't studied it and you have no idea what he's referring to, but for the people that are into Manson, they're knowing exactly what he's talking about. So it might not have worked for all of our listeners, but I'll tell you what, it'll work for the people that are involved and interested in the Manson case. Especially if Manson croaks off here in a couple days, then we got a hell of an interview.
Sure did.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Wow.
like I saw that movie. We were watching, I don't know what movie we were watching, some Manson movie, and it just left like a lot of it made him look like a crazy person.
They all do. They all do. Every
It
doc.
literally made him look like they were just going on killing sprees
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah,
and I
it's
was
all
sitting there,
perspective.
but I was literally watching the movie, and I was like, they're just going to kill for no reason. Like, I just don't get it.
And every documentary you watch is the same. They're all filled with holes.
Yeah,
and they all tell of this person who just had ultimate control over this group of people.
Right.
I mean,
So
it,
it's cool
it sounds
to
pretty
hear
much the
it. It was a
same. It
cool
sounds pretty much the
perspective.
same. If Todd Von D went on a killing spree, and then I got blamed for it for brainwashing Todd Von D,
Well,
you know what I mean?
You
Sounds about
basically,
right. Yeah,
you
you pushed
basically
them.
do have control over a large group of people.
Yeah, I know. I was seeing all these correlations between me and Manson. I'm like, holy shit! One of these motherfuckers fucks up, and I'm going away for life.
Just don't put a tattoo on your forehead.
Because you see
Yeah.
what happens when somebody outside
Might have
the rabbit army or outside the rabbit family gets involved with somebody inside the rabbit family. It turns chaotic.
No,
real
I
quick.
know. They trip off in a heartbeat. Okay, well, I'm thinking that we need to take a break. I wonder if people are still having a lot of technicalities listening to the show. I'm wondering if we should stop it and start back up.
I got headphone issues, so.
Oh, you have headphone issues? Well, I'll tell you what, guys. We're going to stop this real quick, and then we're going to rebroadcast here in a little bit after a smoke break in the Club Hub. But we're going to stop the broadcast right now. We're going to have a cigarette break. I'm going to try and get some the head of, what time is it right now? It is
5 minutes to 10.
It's 9:55. Well, I don't know if my next guest is still available because they were talking about going to sleep a little earlier. But I'm going to try and get somebody else on the phone, and we can go back to Herp Alert Section 2. But right now, we're going to wrap this one up, and we'll be back on the air in probably in the next 5 minutes or so. All right.
He does come from a different world. So.
Okay, so we are back, wrapping that up. So that was a little interesting. I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners, they're not familiar with the Manson case because this did happen in 1969. So I'm sure a lot, because of the age group of our listeners and stuff like that, I'm sure a lot of them aren't familiar with the whole Manson case. But at the same time, well, maybe you got a little bit of education. I know that a lot of the names he was throwing around, you don't recognize those names. Well, of course, we were talking about the 3 or 4 different murder scenarios and how Manson himself explained what happened at those events. Now, to me, it seemed like Manson was, basically a guy that, kind of fell into this leadership role of this group of kids that was hanging out at ranch during the whole free love and everything else like that. And he just, he made some very bad decisions. You know what I mean? He shouldn't have shown up at the crime scenes and stuff like that. But it's hard for me to imagine if what Mike's saying is true. And I know Mike is basically saying, he's directly from Manson's mouth. He's just reiterating the stories that Manson has told him. But like I was just saying outside, the whole scenario of drug deals gone bad and having to pay off these bikers that want their money back because they took some bad acid. I mean, all this stuff makes a hell of a lot more sense than some mystical being that brainwashed people and
like a cult, and
got,
just said,
got pissed off because he didn't get his record deal and went on a killing spree. I mean, to me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
And like I said before we came back to the break, like Mike and I have gotten into a lot of disagreements, over the years about it because, of course, I've read the books, I've seen the documentaries. I went to school for criminal justice, so obviously you look at the media side of it. But then I've never had this level of a conversation with him where you start to break stuff down and you start to talk about, because obviously the murders themselves were inhumane. They were horrific. In terms of what was
like
done
some
to
crazy
people.
meth head was murdering people.
Like what was done to those people. But like I said, while we're on break, the people that, other than Sharon Tate, those people were all painted as innocent. Were they really innocent? What it is what Mike said. Were they all were they drug dealers?
But the thing is Buligosi, I mess up his name, but Buligosi, the prosecuting attorney. I mean, that's his job, is to paint innocent victims and to paint villains that killed him. And when you have a defendant that can't testify in front of the jury, he can't represent himself. He's got basically pretty subpar representation. And then, to me, it's like Buligosi was just the better attorney. And it happens in cases all the time where they try to paint their villain. They try to paint him a certain way. And his was so outlandish and so far-fetched that it's like, well, it's got to be true because who would make this shit up?
Well, and look at all the other things that went on back then. You had like the Zodiac murders. You had, you had things that went
Sensationalism.
that went unsolved. So for something like this, for what you could consider a mass murders, because you had 3 murders that were horrific, and they had all kinds of, you got blood painted on the wall and people with forks sticking out of them. But that's like a gift wrapped present as a prosecutor to get that kind of a case.
And that's the one thing that I didn't understand. I know that they tried to make the second murder scene look like the first murder scene and to get their buddy out of jail. But my question is, why did the first murder scene look like that, where there was shit painted all over the walls and just all this crazy stuff? I mean, I don't know. I guess you ever been into a meth house? There's some crazy shit going on. So
Yeah, who knows?
See, and I didn't know that about the first murder. I didn't know what was the guy's name? Henneman or Henneman?
yeah, I don't have my notes up, but Bill Hinman, I believe.
So I didn't even know about that murder itself. So I didn't know that they had made, that the second and third murders actually masked the first one.
Yeah. And I mean, what Mike said, and like I said, when we're talking to Mike, it's as close as we're going to get, or anybody's going to get, to talking to Manson himself.
Basically,
Yeah.
Mike's the go-to. He's referenced from Manson to other people as being Manson's best friend. And Mike has spent hours on the phone with Manson, multiple, basically almost every day for 10 years,
you figure
if not more.
Over the last 10 or 12 years, I mean, he's probably got 10,000 hours of recorded conversation.
Yeah, does he talk about that at all? That he records stuff, or is that on the down low?
I don't know if Manson knows that he does that. I mean, I presume that at some point maybe he had the conversation with him about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, when Manson kicks the bucket, or if we talk to Mike again, it'd be pretty rad to get some of those Manson tapes and edit some stuff together and get some of these phone calls, especially phone calls of Manson explaining the case. Now, that would be something interesting.
I'll tell you one thing. He's got a hell of a book or a movie deal at his fingertips.
Yeah, Mike's sitting on a gold mine. He's recorded all these conversations with Manson for 10 years. So, Mike's pretty much stayed out of the media. He's refused Dateline and all this other kind of stuff. He's totally stayed away from the media, but he's sitting on a gold mine of tapes with all those tapes of his recorded Manson conversations.
For real,
That's for
because
damn sure.
if what he's telling us, it's the opposite side of what we're seeing in the movies or documents that are out there now.
Right.
It's like the fill in the blank. So, man, if he has all this proof of it,
and I'll tell you, in today's
be
day and
crazy.
age, to rehash that or to bring that back to the surface and make it relevant again, they would, you see how many movies get remade,
And they were
remade.
and-
They would do it in a New York Minute for that type of a
heck
case.
Yeah. I mean, just when we were looking, I was like, can we find a decent movie to watch? This?
Yeah, but
And
it's all from Bulagosi's point of view, because he's the only one that wrote. Well, he's not the only one. Nick whatever wrote a book about this too. The other guy that's Mike's friend.
Yep.
Which is more on the defense of Manson. But all the movies were based on this helter-skelter, this whole theory that the prosecuting attorney came up with, and that's kind of the story that the media's ran with when they do movies and stuff like that. So, Chris was asking in the chat, what's Mike's plan with all those convos? Is he planning a tell-all? And I don't think Mike has any plans for that stuff as of right now. But I'll tell you what, I'd like to sit down with Mike and go through it and put together a book or something on
because I don't know that he's ever talked about it. I mean, Rachel would probably know better than I would, because Rachel talks to him on a regular basis. But I don't know that the conversations really came up. We just know that he records the conversations.
Right. And Mike's relationship with Manson, weren't you telling me that like all of Manson's personal stuff got shipped to Mike's house or something
He was
like that?
telling
Like
us
his,
that. He was
his
telling
guitar and all this other kind of
And he,
nonsense?
and Manson makes stuff in prison. Like you're not supposed to make, it's like murderabilia. You're not supposed to make money off of anything that you send. But I mean, Manson makes like these paper spiders out of like toilet paper, and people will pay thousands of dollars for these things because it's made by him.
Right.
There's people
Right.
all over the world that, all over the country that'll pay for that stuff. Then they'll pay top dollar. They'll pay top dollar to get something that's signed by him. A picture that gets signed by Manson.
Well, that's how
For
Mike
the
got.
bus, then.
Yeah, that's how Mike got into this all. That's what we need for the bus. Steph saying, we need some of the Manson spiders to sell off to pay for our bus remodel.
I know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy.
Hey, Rachel, get your brother to sell a Manson spider. We got to pay for the bus.
Yeah, we need some bus money. Yeah, and that's interesting that, Mike, he just took it on himself. He wrote the guy some letters in prison, and Manson responded back, and bam, 10 years later, they've been responding together every day. And I didn't say this while Mike was on the phone, but I mean, Manson sent his son $500 for his birthday, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the relationship that he's established with Charles Manson.
Well, he
It's just
considers
crazy.
him as a son, is what Mike was saying,
Yeah,
right?
Manson's got people that put money on his books all the time. They make sure he's well taken care of. I mean, I'm sure at this stage, he probably lives better than most prisoners.
I wanted to ask Mike about that. And that's one thing I didn't get to, because I was curious about, people would pay serious money just to interview Manson. So I was like wondering, if does Manson have money? Is he worth something?
I don't think he cannot make any money off of anything.
Yeah, but there's ways around it.
That I from what I understand, that he wrote all this music. You know what I mean? When we started getting into the conversation about like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and all this shit, because he was like this crazy, musical genius, that he wrote a bunch of the stuff that people actually performed, and he was getting paid from. Obviously being a writer to a lot of the music that was out those days. So I don't see why. I mean, how much money do you really spend in prison?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure he's got so many people that are always putting money on his books. And,
of course.
He's got because I know he had some woman that was trying to marry him or,
Now, are his kids like still alive? Does Mike, I wonder if Mike has any connection with his family. None?
Well, because he's got the one person I think that says is his son. And I think it's disputed. I don't think it's been confirmed that it's his kid.
Interesting.
I mean, how the hell would they know from way back then? I mean, those people were sleeping with so many people unprotected. How the hell would they know that? Oh yeah, this is Manson's kid.
Right. Exactly. Well, that was an interesting show, that's for sure. My next guest I was going to have on the show isn't available, so I guess we're not going down that whole road. Plus, I don't know if we really wanted to. It was just the girl that runs the downtown Disney Dick. What is it? DDS?
Yes.
Oh, another one?
Yeah, DDS. Oh. She was going to give me the whole rundown on what actually happened over in that group. But that's just a nightmare that I don't want to get involved with.
Why, is that new drama, or are we talking about Purple
She was just going to rehash the old stuff.
Oh,
but,
they said
nobody
there's
really
a
cares.
website where you can buy his shirts and the proceeds go to his books.
Huh? Who's saying that? Mm-hmm. Manson has a website where you can buy shirts and the proceed go to his books. What do you mean the proceed goes to his books?
So somebody,
like his money goes to his prison book.
So somebody somebody sells like stuff on his behalf, and then they put the money on
into his account
in prison.
In his prison account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on his books. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I'm not down with the prison lingo. Good thing we got a black man on the panel.
On his books.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would love to know at this point. He must get access to things that other people don't get. I'm sure there's people that give him stuff.
Yeah. Well, you would think something. I mean, man.
The couple that lived below us before we moved out east, the boyfriend did what did he do? 5 years for conspiracy, Rachel. Mm-hmm. And he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, if you have enough money, you can get anything you want in prison. He goes, and I mean anything. He goes, I ate what I want. I drank what I want. He goes, I had sex with my girlfriend. That's how, one of their kids was conceived while he was in prison. And it was in a prison that didn't allow conjugal visits. But yet, somehow, some way.
Well, Manson got married, not in 2014, something like that.
Did he? I don't think he ever went through with it.
Oh, he didn't.
Was gonna, yeah. I think he was gonna, and then it shit the bed.
I think he was the one who decided though, from what I remember on the interviews and stuff, because they interviewed the chick a couple times.
Well, hell, I'm calling Abe. Abe is the other admin on the Disneyland Drive singles.
Let's get him.
Oh fuck, I'm gonna call Abe.
But I think at this point, if you think about
Abe, I'm calling you on Facebook Messenger.
You think about the notoriety that anybody would get being in a relationship with him, and like Mike said, Manson is all about his word, and he wants to know. He's tested Mike through the years to see if he's really in it. If he is he in it to make money, or is he in it because
to be his actual
friend?
To
be his friend, and because he's really, he's true in what he says. And Mike stood the test of time, and other people, I'm sure, haven't.
Right.
You know, there's probably
Right.
been plenty of people that have come and gone out of Manson's life over the years because they were just looking to get the notoriety because they had, you know, and like I said, you know, whether Mike knows it or not, I'm sure he does. You know, Mike's not stupid. You know, like I said, he's sitting on with all those hours of conversations that he's got. There's not a publishing company or a movie company on this earth that probably wouldn't pay top dollar to get that.
It'd be like, I think it would be like big movie, like
Oh, that's gold.
Big-
I mean, you figure
big screen movie,
you
not
figure-
no B-rated movie.
Yeah, you
know?
figure all those tapes. I mean, that's right out of Manson's mouth.
Yeah.
That's everything that they could take and they could write it. You know, if I don't know what Manson has talked about over the years, but if he's talked about any of this stuff to the level that Mike says he has, which obviously it sounds like he has, it sounds like there's a lot of, you know, they could make a movie that would go opposite of
And
everything
people
else.
don't know these things.
No.
You know,
It's irrelevant,
people
though.
don't
Would
know.
I mean, of course, us being, you know, of age, I would probably go see it. But like the
I
younger
don't think
crowd who
so.
don't
I
have a
think
clue,
people would
they
go.
see it?
I think there's movies that weren't in my time that I'm like, oh, that's a true story. Heck yeah, let's go watch it. You know
Well,
what I mean?
look at Whitey Bulger. I mean, he got nabbed out here a couple years ago, and you know, people really didn't when he got arrested. People, other than the fact that he was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, nobody really knew who he was. If you're not from the East Coast, you know, or you somewhere, you know, in the suburbs of Massachusetts, you probably really didn't know who he was or what he did. You know, when you watch the movie, that's probably one of the best depictions you're ever going to get of him. The problem is, again, it's one-sided. You're not getting, you know, and they could make a movie about John Connolly, the FBI agent who, you know, assisted him. They could make a movie all about him because he was basically at the end of the day, he was the FBI scapegoat.
But
Hold
even
on.
with
I got-
this, it's like you only see one side of media, and now you have this story. You know what I mean?
Hey, AB, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear Missy? Missy, check your mic.
Check, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Missy.
Oh, okay. Because we got some new technology. Because you know us, we always like to use the new shitty technology and test it out on the air and see if we can fuck it up.
Yeah.
Hey, so Abe, were you listening to that Manson shit?
Yes, I was.
So, were you familiar with the Manson case at all, or was this just kind of out of left field for you?
No, I know the Manson stuff. I live like, maybe a mile from the Tate and LaBianca houses.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what'd you think of that interview with Mike? And kind of, I guess that's nowadays that's as close as you're going to get to talking to Manson directly. What'd you think about all that shit?
You know what? I'm going to be polite and bite my tongue because it's
Ah, go ahead. He's off the show now, and you can say whatever you want. What do you think?
He sounds like another one of the nut jobs that the moment they talk to Manson and become a Manson follower.
So you believe that like Manson shouldn't have talked to the jury because he would totally brainwash them, like you think Mike is brainwashed into following him down his little trail. That's that you think that what the media portrayed as far as Manson and that he mind controlled these people into killing people. You think that's legit?
No. Honestly, the guy probably did get a bum rap as far as, a good trial, but I don't know. Something just wrong about that guy.
Well, I mean, I didn't say that, the guy is a completely normal guy. I think he's very eccentric. And like I said, I don't know what to believe. I just like the fact that I could talk to Mike and ask the questions directly to Mike, which is kind of like asking Manson and just see what he has to say. I'd have to get way more into the case and get way more in depth before I would actually form a solidified opinion in any direction. Because like I said, I'm kind of new to the whole thing. I'm kind of I've heard of Manson. I always knew from what I heard of Manson that he was some psycho killer. You know what I mean? And that's just,
yeah.
But why was he a psycho killer? I don't know. That's just who Manson is. You know what I mean? So it was kind of interesting talking to Mike a little bit and getting Mike's perspective or Manson's perspective on what actually happened. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, I've been around enough crazy meth heads to believe that I want to say that which story is easier for me to believe, that it was a bunch of meth heads, a drug deal gone bad, they owed a biker gang money, and they're showing up at drug dealers' houses, and they're flipping out, but they're trying to get money to pay back these other guys that are going to kill them. Hey, all that stuff sounds pretty realistic to me compared to, yeah, this wizard guy up in this ranch brainwashed a bunch of people, just go out and kill everybody because he didn't get a record deal. to me, if you had to ask me right now which one sounds more plausible, I'll go with a meth head every day.
Yeah, yeah. You live in the IE. I'm sure you can go along with the meth head.
Hey, that's right, man. You don't mess with the meth heads.
Well, the thing I think is, maybe who says it's not both? Exactly both.
That's
maybe
true.
These guys were tweaked out on meth and fucking out of their minds.
Yeah.
But also on the same token, it was a drug deal that went bad.
And believe me when I tell you, Abe, I've had the same conversations, with Rachel and, directly about Mike in terms of, because sometimes the stuff just sounds crazy, like the way he talks and the way his perception of Manson sometimes is a little bit abnormal. But I suppose it's like anything else. When you develop a relationship with somebody over the course of, 15 years, maybe Manson did let him see a different side of him. I don't know. Do I think it's kind of a 50-50 deal? Do I think some of it's kind of he just buys into the garb? And then do I think, like Jake said, do I think there could be some truth to the other side of that? Because it does when you think about it in your head, logistically, it makes more sense.
It makes sense.
Do I think it's kind of a 50-50 deal? Do I think some of it's kind of he just buys
I realized
into the
I can't
garb?
go on this page. Hold on. We got a time warp there. We went back 20 seconds with the delay and it started playing back. Don't mind that, Abe. That wasn't Tom saying the same shit twice.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
That was our flux. That was our flux.
That was our
capacitor.
flux capacitor was shutting down and we got in a time warp, but whatever. So anyways, Abe, I was going to talk to, was it Nichelle Johnson? She was wanting to talk to me, but I messaged her on Facebook and she didn't respond, so I'm guessing she's asleep or, is she single?
Yeah, she works early mornings.
Is she single? I mean, I guess you got to be single if you're doing the Disneyland Dick Suckers or whatever
Especially
the group
if
is.
she's an admin.
No, isn't Abe in a
she was
relationship?
single. She did meet someone through the group.
Oh, she did.
But yeah.
Herp free, I hope.
Yes, hurt free.
Yeah.
Has the person
Or
been
at
lemon
least-
tested is the question.
So we know exactly.
Lemon tested.
Right.
And the thing is, her and her friend were going to come on the show and talk about exactly what happened, and I was like, I really don't know what the point of that is, but anyways, to come down off of Manson to talk about, dudes having herp on their dick, I guess we can do that. I mean, I guess that's what the listeners want. But anyways, so what exactly happened in the DDS group?
Well, actually, it wasn't in the DDS group. It was a couple of members who
See, this
happened to
rabbit hole
also
just
be
goes
in the
deeper and
DDS
deeper.
group.
Okay, a couple of members that happen to be in there. All right, go ahead.
Wait a minute. Let's clarify something. How many? Because maybe for the listeners it would help. How many dating groups are there that you're aware of?
Okay, there's 7 that I know of. They're Disneyland-based groups.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's
cool.
a lot.
That's cool.
That's
actually.
like Tinder
A lot
for
of
Disney.
a lot of
You can
Disney, a
use
lot of
Mickey
Disneyland
Mouse to
sex
get-
going on.
Now you can use Mickey Mouse to get pussy now. How fucking awesome is that?
Apparently. So all right. So there's 7 groups. All right. So you're the admin on which?
I'm an admin on the Disneyland Drive singles page, and also on the one Cork started, the Plenty of Disney page.
Which is a play on Plenty of Fish. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, what happened with the whole herp outbreak? Because the thing that I forget her name, Nichelle, was the thing that she was adamant about was like, no, it didn't break out amongst 3 people. That's complete. It was just one girl that had it and nobody else got it. And then Corky was saying, no, I thought that, one guy slept with one girl and it spread to 3 or whatever. So if you're an admin on the page, what exactly is going on? How many people got the herp out of the 300 group people in that page?
Confirmed, I know of 1.
See, that's
and then
scary to me.
you got Mr. Oh no, I got a doctor's note. And then never says anything after that, and then doesn't want to come on.
So
the
you got
show
a
either.
confirmed one, and then you got one that's just being a complete nightmare about it and won't admit whether or not he says he tested, but nobody's proved.
Or is that the person that Abe's talking about?
No,
No, that's a separate. That is that separate person.
So
There's
you've got-
one
you've got-
female that's confirmed.
you got one confirmed, and you got one guy being just a nightmare about it.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
And who slept? So, but who's patient 0? It's
Who's the carrier?
It's the
The
girl,
outbreak
right?
monkey, right?
Yeah. Who's the
Robin.
outbreak
Robin.
monkey? Is it? It's the Robin girl, right? She's the
Whoa,
outbreak.
we're
monkey.
dropping names. Shit.
I just know Robin girl. That's all I. All
Is
I
she
know
in a
is her
social
first
club
name.
too?
Robin Hood.
I don't.
Robin Hood.
Not that I know of. She's not in a social club. No.
Is she?
Okay.
But does she has a Disney pass though, right?
Last time I remember, it was no. She doesn't have a pass and doesn't have a driver's license either.
Okay, but
Wow.
she's the outbreak monkey.
So
Yeah,
So
she
she
picked it up
didn't
from
go-
some 3-way she hooked up with off of Tinder.
Three-way off of Tinder.
I told you,
see what
it's
happens?
Disney Tinder.
Now, Abe, is this picture that I saw floating around with this person that has like glitter over their whole body? And I don't know. I just saw this picture of this chick, and somebody said it was the Outbreak Monkey, and I just had a hard time believing
I wonder
that
if
anybody was having a three-way.
Is it
with
the same picture
that,
I might have
unless it
saw?
was two other monkeys? But
Jake, is
this a blonde, heavyset girl with lots of freaking fucking like Tinkerbell glitter all over her whole body? Is the glitter to distract your eyes away from the herpy
I don't know the
bumps?
exact picture, but the person is of a larger set and is of a blonde.
Okay,
Because
well.
Jake, I think I saw the same picture, and it looked like it was like when you wash like Halloween makeup off your face and you don't get it all off.
Yeah, it's like you fell asleep in your Halloween makeup and rolled around all night and sweated a lot and then woke up. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, anyway, so you're saying that there's one confirmed, one questionable. What do you think about the guy that's totally questionable that says he got tested but he has no proof about it and all this other bullshit? What do you think? Do you think he's got it?
Proof and I'll believe you.
Huh?
I said, it's you want me to believe you? Show me proof.
Exactly.
Does it give you nightmares thinking about it?
Yeah. Do you have nightmares about going to the park and possibly running into this guy and his crew?
No.
I think I'd be more afraid to run into her.
I
She's
think
patient zero.
My rabbits behind me are a little more than protective of me and my nightmares.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, hey, what do you think about our new party bus or our school bus that will be a party bus at one time?
Dude, we're going to be very, 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 very drunk. We need to find a not a chaperone,
A
designated driver.
chauffeur. A chauffeur. Yeah, a chauffeur. We need a chauffeur.
We're gonna have to take turns.
Yeah.
Driving the bus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. I mean, I guess that hole doesn't go too deep. There wasn't really much to talk about on the whole Herp Alert Part 2.
Yeah.
But you know,
So we got patient zero and potentially 2 other monkeys.
Yeah.
One of them.
Well,
that I know of.
the guy that keeps on saying that he's going to supply some proof that he doesn't have the herp. Have you talked to this guy? Does he come across as kind of a liar to you, or what's your take on this guy, of why he hasn't shown proof that he's clean?
Maybe he's scared.
I've met him several times before and talked with him a few times before. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, so you don't believe him at his word. I got it. All right. So, anyways, what's new in Abe's life? Are you in a relationship right now?
Yes, I am.
But you still monitor these single pages. How does your girlfriend feel about that?
She's on the page, actually. I met her through the page.
You did. So people are actually hooking up through this. And like every girl that Cork has dated recently, he's met through those pages too, right?
Wow.
No, Cork's met... You know what? It's a tough call with Cork. Cork meets him all over the damn place.
Wow. Hey, you guys stop talking about my buddy on the phone.
Hey, I'm just asking how effective these Disneyland dating pages really are.
I got your back, Cork.
Well, clearly, if there's 7 of them, they must be doing okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I've heard some pretty
Disney Tinder, man.
I've heard some pretty crazy stories about some things that go on certain Disney rides.
Yeah, so have I. Hey,
Herpes is enough for
Abe,
me.
I haven't given your last name, and I guess people don't. Did I give Abe's last name?
No.
Negative.
I don't think I did. So, Abe, in your professional opinion, since you are a professional and you monitor 2 of these Disneyland dating sites, in your professional opinion, where's the best place to fuck at Disneyland?
Oh, that's the family bathrooms.
Oh, that's the easy one. What about for the exhibitionists? If you because the
exhibitionists.
I've heard of the
that would
family
be on the
bathroom.
train when it's
The
actually
train,
running.
like when you're going through the dinosaur tunnel, taking a trip back in time.
What is it? What do you got to just do? Like the backup,
Yeah, like how the fuck is that even possible?
Open your legs and just kind of back up on it.
Abe, hold on. Now I got some more questions. Abe, you are a big dude. How tall are you?
6'6".
You're 6'6". Have you ever fucked at Disneyland outside of the family bathroom?
Yes.
Holy shit! How do you disguise that?
I don't
want to
know.
The old monorail slides. The old monorail bobsleds, how you could sit 2 people in each thing.
Oh,
Wow.
back in the day.
Hold on, what?
That was back in the day.
The monorail.
The monorail?
What are you, Matterhorn?
No.
Or Matterhorn.
Matterhorn.
You were
That was back
fucking
in
on the
day.
Matterhorn? That's how people lose their heads on that ride. I guess that's how it happens. They're fucking Abe.
Yep.
Dude, the way that ride jerks around and you actually had somebody unbuckled and fucking on the matter. Dude, you're in that's intense.
Dude, you go
That's
around
intense.
a corner and you break something.
Yeah, that's
Well,
pretty
no,
intense.
the seatbelt went around both of you.
No, I'm talking about
Yeah, he's talking about when it was like old school.
No, I'm talking about breaking the unit. Like, when you go around a corner, you just kind of jolt the wrong way, man.
To break anything, it's probably going to be her uterus. That's a lot of jerking around on one ride. I mean,
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they were banging around on the Matterhorn. And Abe, a 6'6" dude, of all people, to say that he was banging on the Matterhorn, that's just insane to me.
So at one point, I don't know, did two people
Yes,
sit per?
you would sit like how
you would sit like
in
on the log ride.
ride. But log ride changed too. They have those little dividers now.
Yes, to keep people from Abe from fucking on the rides.
That's pretty interesting. I still want to know how you do it on the train.
The train. I can see the train. That the train would be. I could see that as being one of the safer. You get in the middle of that train, you sit on the back row.
Thousands of cameras around that park. Is there any really safe place? If you don't get caught fucking at Disney, is because you were fucking lucky.
I mean, if you're on Haunted Mansion or even Pirates, they
have cameras everywhere.
Right before you go down the hill, they can see you because they have infrared cameras. They can see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see Kenny Rodriguez in the group, and Kenny is just one of those guys. I won't name his social club, and I don't know if Kenny still has a pass, but Kenny just seems like a guy that's probably fucking all over the place at Disneyland. I might have to call Kenny and just see where his favorite place was to bang it out at Disneyland. But yeah, Matterhorn, never heard that one, Abe. I mean, kudos to you. You should get like a Disneyland fucking gold medal for banging it out on the Matterhorn. I just find that hard to believe.
Is the chick still alive?
Yes.
All right.
Didn't kill anybody. That's good.
Yeah.
Twice. So look he even went back.
I know. He's like he's an Olympic style bobsledder on the Matterhorn.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's harder to do than actually getting a gold medal in a real bobsled, to actually bang it out on the Matterhorn. I can't even ride that ride anymore. I mean, no. I do, but I don't like to ride it because that ride just, I don't know, it just jerks all over.
I feel like I'm one bump short of like rupturing my spleen.
Yeah, and then you're going to put your dick in a vagina or an asshole or whatever he was doing on that ride and let her just slide around. Hey, Abe, have you ever broke your dick before?
Once.
Okay, do tell. Do tell, buddy.
Only once?
Only once. Okay, how did you... Oh, my God.
Was it at Disneyland?
I was just going to say, how do you break your dick?
No, it was at Disneyland.
No, yeah, he broke that on the... what's that wooden roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm? The Ghost Rider.
The Ghost Rider?
No, but seriously, because I guess we're doing a little sex ed. What is a dick break? Isn't it like where it kind of ruptures like the blood flow sac and you kind of just get like a massive bleeding hemorrhage type crap?
How do you even know this?
It bruises up really bad.
Yeah, internal bleeding.
Yeah.
Isn't that what a hard-on is?
No, but see, when you have a...
No, that's
it breaks
literally
outside
a
of
hard
the
dick.
blood vessels, Steven.
It's blood, yeah, but it's blood in like these sacs that kind of fill up. But when you break it, you rupture those kind of reservoirs, and that's why it bruises so bad, because it's blood coming out of there and bruising the whole penis. So Abe, was this a work-related injury?
No, we fell off a boat at Havasu.
Oh, so it wasn't even a sex injury.
Hold on.
Just like fell off a boat.
No. It was a sex injury. We fell off of the boat.
You fell into the water.
Yeah, but they were going 110 miles per hour at the time. Abe likes that extreme shit. No, was the boat moving when you fell off of it?
No, we were parked in a cove.
You're parked in a cove and you fell off the boat and you guys didn't. When you're falling, when your dick is inserted in something, you're supposed to separate before you hit the ground. It was just too good. You couldn't separate from that, huh?
Was it like were you like a parachuter? You just hoping she was going to save your life when you fell on top of her?
What was that, Abe? I couldn't hear you.
I said the undocking process is a little difficult in midair,
Well, I mean, what did she do? Have teeth in her vagina and you just pull out?
There's a movie for that.
You're surprised at some women I've slept with. They might have had some teeth in their vagina.
Abe, I think that should be your next sex adventures. You should jump out of a plane and have sex.
Yeah, can we...
I've actually seen that in porns a few times.
Yeah, but we want to see a 6'6" dude doing it. If we raise the money, can we send you and your lady up in a plane and you guys can have sex on the way down?
For the record, I do not want to see this.
Missy said she's out, but whatever.
Hey, we'll do anything for ratings.
Yeah, and if there's any girls listening right now that have teeth in their vaginas, please call in.
She says no.
She says no. Is she an exhibitionist, or Abe? Are you more of the exhibitionist? Is your lady? Is she not so much of an exhibitionist?
I don't know, honey. Are you an exhibitionist?
You know, I vaguely remember a picture of her with.
She said she's good with the exhibitionist. She's not good with the jumping out of the plane part.
Yeah, I remember a picture of her with a collar around her neck on Facebook.
Oh, yep,
somewhere.
I do remember that
yeah,
picture.
that's an
Yep.
exhibitionist in my book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Abe,
Put
thanks
the
for the update. I got one more guy to call. Hope you're having a good night. Hope to see you at the park soon. I'm sure.
Sunday.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware that we have our official meetup this Sunday, so it'll be a good time. All right, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if I can get one more guy. All right. Later, Abe. Well, I don't know where. I don't know where to hang up on
What is
that.
this about Ass Hatador?
Oh, that's the guy that was complaining about people not waving
yes.
in the parks. I think that was him. Was that Josh? Hold on. Let me see.
That was Josh, yeah. He was complaining about people not waving?
Yeah, he was,
No,
he
that wasn't
complaining
Josh.
about-
That was his other little buddy. Josh is in the same club, but I forget his name. What was his
I
name?
know, somebody was upset
was
the
with
other
the
day
J.
because there wasn't like a whole conversation about being social with social
Yeah.
clubs.
That's
huge
the
one.
one. That was it. That was it.
I'm
That was the-
social with my social club.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I'm not anti-social with other people, but I'm primarily social with my group.
I'm being social, and I'm in a club.
Right.
Social club.
I'm gonna call up Kenny.
But
Now Kenny's got me wondering.
I wonder
if Kenny's working right now or if he's actually just sitting at home.
But I will say, for the most part, I try to wave or nod when I can or when I think about it. But sometimes you're just caught up in the moment. You don't, like, if you're talking and you're goofing around, you're not paying attention, and people think that it's like, well, they didn't wave to me.
I smile. That's enough.
That's ridiculous. That's how I feel about it. If you want a hello, come and say hi.
Yeah.
That simple.
They're too afraid.
Then don't complain.
Hey, Kenny, this is Jake on the radio.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up, man? So, when we were talking about people banging around at the park, you ever bang around at the park?
Yeah, I had my encounters at the park.
Uh-huh. And where was your favorite spot? Did you ever bang it out on the Matterhorn? Come on.
Honestly, I don't think I could do that now. After they updated the ride, like, you can't even. It doesn't even sound possible now.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
back
He
in
was.
the day,
No, he
maybe.
was talking about. He was
we were
doing
talking
it back
about.
in
We
the
were
day.
talking about it back in the day.
No, back in the day, I didn't even know what sex was, man. I was little.
Yeah. Well, how old are you, Kenny?
24 now.
All right. Are you still doing the social club thing?
No, I still go to the park, but if you think about it, we're really a social club. I don't know if you talk to the people.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mention any names, but you know what I mean.
Okay, all right. Oh, well, I just thought, Kenny, you're wild and crazy. You're always riding the sport bikes and stuff like that. So I thought if anybody was banging at the parks, it'd be you.
All right, so
But you did say that you did. Where was your favorite place to bang it out at the parks?
It was in DCA, right? You know where that hot dog place is at?
Yeah. The castle one over there, right by Goofy's Spice School.
Yeah, there you go.
No. The one
Oh, Award Wieners.
by Matt T.
Award Wieners, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some bushes in there. Like, if you walk right across, like, from them, there's some trees there at nighttime. That's like one of the spots to go to.
Really?
That's pretty.
Hey, so we should just go there one night to creep on somebody.
Wait, where the
So hold
bathroom
on.
is at?
So
You might find somebody there. You never know.
Well, let me ask you: if the person was 6'6", would he go unnoticed?
He actually can. The trees will cover him.
Wow.
wait, now I'm trying to imagine where he's talking about because I know where Award Wieners is, and I know right across the street is the restrooms.
Yes.
Now, okay, so if I'm standing on the restroom side of the street and I'm looking at Award Wieners, is it to the left or to the right? To the right is that seating area.
To the right.
To the
So if you're facing towards, say, you know where you take that picture with the whole Hollywood backdrop?
yeah.
Okay, so if you're facing that way, it's gonna be right to the right.
Right to
It's
the
gonna be
right.
to the right of it.
To the right of it.
So is it near the is it near the
Hyperion?
seating area?
By
The scenery he's talking about is Hyperion, right?
Yeah.
The scenery is the side of
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's all the way
it's-
down
you're
by the
facing
Hyperion building?
No, it's right across from that. It's right across from the hot dog place. I would have to show
That's
you.
where
but,
by
I would
Disney
have to show you.
Junior.
where the bathroom is.
No.
Yeah.
By
right there.
By Disney Junior.
Right there,
Yeah,
there by the
right by
bathroom.
Disney Junior, kind of. It's crazy because there's Disney Junior, but
Yeah, you are crazy.
You know what's going to happen Sunday is we're all going to be looking for this bang spot.
Yeah,
we're all going to be investigating the trees.
Please live video me so I can see that and I can point it out to you.
Between Disney.
All right.
We will.
All right. Hey, well, it's good to hear from you, Kenny. And you said you still have your pass, huh?
Yeah. I've actually seen some of your club members lately. I haven't really said hi because they're all walking somewhere else and I'm walking somewhere else. But
it is what it is.
Well, don't worry, Kenny.
you
we
are
will
big,
not
man,
say
so you guys have
no
a lot of-
or say hi. We will not say hi.
What was that, Kenny?
I said you guys are doing pretty big. I see.
Yeah, dude. Hey, we just bought a school bus that we're converting to a party bus. What do you think about that? You gonna come hang out with us?
You better invite me. You know I get that party started.
We're
Yeah, I know
taking
it.
social clubbing to a whole new level.
Yeah, I think
in
Kenny. I
17.
think was it Kenny that used to always have the hots for Gigi in our club? One of those guys, one of those boys did. One of those boys was
They
always
all
knacking on.
did.
Yeah.
I think they all did.
Hey, it was me and another person. I'm not gonna say any names, but
I think they all did.
Yeah, everybody that's listening right now has broken out their park maps and they marked down your Golden Bang place at Disneyland. And honestly, I've never heard of that spot. That sounds like it's a pretty
Chris is saying it's on the back of Carthay.
on the
It will-
back of Carthay.
it's around there, but it's a little bit more up. So
I know it's got to be
might-
just one of those little walkways with a bunch of
honestly, I
little
was
trees.
kind of drunk, so it's a little blurry. But if I see it, I'll remember it.
How many girls do you think that you landed at Mad T when Mad T was going on back in the day? How many girls do you think that you took home at the end of the night?
Man,
Is it
put me on the spot.
because your crew is all about just going out there, putting the game down, and just whatever, eating your pineapple Dole Whip so everything was nice and sweet, and just going home.
hey, a pineapple.
Well, I'm not
but
gonna
it's
I'm not
sour
gonna
way.
I'm not gonna mention your club's name though because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But
Hey,
how many girls do you think you pulled from Mad T?
Pineapple a day keeps the sour away.
That's right. How many girls do you think you pulled from Mad T? Are we talking like 5, 10, 15, 20?
Well, his "aw man" means double digits.
Let's
Yeah, I
just
know.
say it's more than 20. Let's
More
just say that.
damn.
Dang.
All right.
Damn. Kenny
Shit,
was
we might
knocking
have
it
to
down.
test you with a lemon.
Yeah. Hey, Kenny, have you ever
Are
heard
you
about
ready?
the
Bring me the lemon. Go for it.
hey, Kenny, did you hear about this herpes outbreak that's going around in the Disney singles pages? The Disney hookup, like Disney. Why can't I remember that DDS fucking club's name?
Disney
I
Dive Drive.
didn't even know there was a Disney singles club.
Dude, there's
There's like 7.
yeah, there's plenty of Disney.
What the fuck?
There's plenty of Disney, which is like the Plenty of Fish of Disneyland. Then there's Disney Drive
Drive
singles.
And then
there's
there's
5
other
more.
ones. Yeah, there's 5. There's apparently like 7 of them.
But anyways,
Why-
yeah,
Why can't people meet up and just be like in person? Why
So
do
just
we have
remember,
to
if you're gonna go amongst
paid?
some of these dating websites, make sure you carry a supply of lemons with you.
yeah, and the reason is
Hey, I'm already in a relationship now, so I
oh,
can't-
you are?
Oh.
Okay, all right. I got you, Kenny. All right, well, then we won't talk about any of this. As far as every time I knew Kenny, as long as I've known him, he's been a virgin. I never saw him flirting with any girls. Honestly, my opinion of Kenny, I thought he was going into the priesthood. I questioned whether he was gay for a little while because I never
Man,
saw
I
him
was
with a
gonna
girl.
be a nun. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
he was a nun. So Kenny was a good guy. I thought he was very non-sexual my whole time that I've ever known Kenny. Can I just stop there, Kenny? Am I putting enough good words in there for your lady?
You've spot on. You're
Okay,
good.
yeah. Kenny the Virgin. So that was Kenny the Virgin, folks. And I'll talk to you later, Kenny. You have a good day.
Hey, it was good talking to you guys. Thanks
All
for
right,
calling.
man. Later.
All right,
Bye.
Jake. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know how to hang up this shit. Hold on.
Which means it's gonna play back.
Yeah,
Right.
Oh, there it is. Oh, here it is.
Little red
That's good.
phone.
Oh, anyways, do we have anything else to talk to? I don't think so. What time is it? We went for, oh shit, it's 11 o'clock, 8, 9, 10, 11, fuck. And we have 2 halves of this show that I got to spice together. So I don't know. I thought it was a good show. I mean, I think it left a lot of our audience out of the loop, the whole Manson thing. 'Cause I think the kids are like just too young to really know what was going on.
I think people would have to you'd have to look it up. You'd have to, like you guys did, you'd have to start watching some stuff. Because again, now you're going to get, now you heard the non-demonizing, other side of the perspective.
Yeah, I don't think anybody
Now-
bought it that already has their mind made up, though.
Yeah, if you go, like I said, if you,
But I went in not knowing anything.
like
So
I said,
just went in watching this.
The kids are like just
that.
too young to really know
here
what
we
was
go.
going on.
I think people,
There you go.
if you go, like I said, when you talk about the murders themselves, they're inhumane, they're terrible. But when you look at the other perspective, could it have just been a drug deal's gone wrong, and some of those people were just victims of circumstance? that got killed horrifically? Sure. I mean, it could be. I mean, if they were doing some of the things that Mike said they were doing, and methamphetamines and all that, it makes people go crazy.
It makes sense.
I'm pretty sure you guys just justified murder.
No.
No,
I'm not
saying that it's okay.
It makes sense.
I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that it
happens.
makes sense.
He's got the bad part of the.
No. It just, it's a bad thing. The story put together. Makes sense.
I've always said, I mean, do I think that Manson had more to do with it? Yeah, I do. I mean, but do I think he was like this almighty controlling person? No. Do I think that he covered up a lot of the stuff and that he probably...
Do you think he actually plunged the knife into somebody?
Yeah, as far as Tate and LaBianca, they said that he, even people testify that he wasn't there. But as far as the Tate murders, I would probably lean towards him being there and doing some of what happened. And then with the other guy, the first guy that got killed, I would probably say for certain he was probably involved with that. I mean, he cut the guy's ear off with a sword. That is documented that really did happen.
Right.
Well, and he said it happened.
Yeah,
Mike said it happened.
Yeah, that really did. I mean, I've seen, that in print that they really did cut his ear off, but there's rumor that he also that he was the one who killed that guy. Now, who knows? Because like I said, you've got these people that have come out and testified. You got Tex Watson and, some of the girls that have, recanted their stories and said, oh, I was being controlled. I was brainwashed. I did what he told me to do. Like Jake said, of course they're going to do that. I would do that at this stage in the game. But, and Manson has never done that. He's never told or ratted on any of these people, which I don't know. I guess that's the mindset he's got. But I mean, do I think that he had more to do with it than, what Manson himself leads to believe? Yeah, I do.
All right. Well, shoot. All right, I guess it's time to wrap it up. 11, 8, 19, 11. This seemed like another long show. Anyways, well, thanks everybody for listening. Spread the word. RadioUnderland.com. I think that website's still up.
You can find us on SoundCloud.
Yeah, well, you can find us on SoundCloud at Radio Underland.
Reach out to us. Send us ideas. If you hear stuff.
Email us at radiounderland@gmail.com. You have any Disney subjects you want to talk about, you have any other subjects you want to talk about, hit us up. Spread the word. We'll upload this to YouTube. Share it with your friends. Like our YouTube feed and stuff. So, I don't know. I don't know why. I guess it just inflates our ego. It's like, hey, we got 30 likes. Woo! I don't know, but spread it around. Maybe we can get some more people listening. Maybe we can get some sponsors. Maybe they'll pay for the wrap on our party bus.
We hit 40
sponsors.
tonight.
Did we?
We hit
40, 41, 42.
Yeah. We were in the 40s for a while.
Yeah. So anyways, I will talk to you all later. Hold on. Let me see if I have some music to play. I don't think I have any music to play. I keep on getting busted for this music. I was playing stuff off of YouTube that was just like performers covering a song.
And you got
I
busted
still
for
got
it?
a licensing issue on one of them. And I was like, son of a whatever. Let me see. I'm looking for something to play.
There's your song.
Yeah, here, I know this one. That's just mine. So we'll just play this one, and we will call it a night. All right, everybody.
Good
Night, folks.
Later.
Yes, come on. Clap your hands out this young. Clap your hands out this young. Hey, come on. Woo! Y'all sing it with me one time. I can't help myself. I don't want nobody else to ever love me. Girl, you are my shining star, my God, my love fantasy. And I mean it, hour, day, or night, like I don't love you. You're at the top of my list, 'cause I'm always thinking of you. I still remember in the day when I was scared to touch you. I was my day dreaming.